Yes, indeed. It's Saturday night. Therefore, another Saturday night shoot the breeze. And thank everyone who participated last week. We had good numbers representative of how much subscribers we have. But I'd like to make it even better. So again, I'm going to institute that plan I had several, I guess it's months ago now, about the email list thing. And I hope you guys will participate in that endeavor to push the episodes through via email to your groups, to your organization, etc., so that we can get the numbers better. We can get the Discord larger. We can get more people, posting interesting topics that they like to discuss. That makes the conversations we have here on Saturday even better. And I'll tell you all, if we could get the numbers of people and the number of topics to increase dramatically, I might even, I've been thinking about it. At that point, I might even create another night for a Shoot the Breeze type of show. So, by all means, please share the show via email to your people. Again, we're going to set that up on Discord in the coming few days to have people sign up for the newsletter that we're putting out and for the email list to share episodes of the show. With that said, let me just tell you guys what we have in store for you tonight. We're going to talk about the imperial monster within a psycho-historical perspective. We're going to talk about the epigenetics of black versus white. We're going to discuss why does it matter who makes more money. We're going to discuss a lesson on the Strait of Hormuz. You guys have heard about this Strait of Hormuz recently with this war or these attacks on Iran. And lastly, we're going to discuss, are you more of a stabber or a dancer? Very interesting topic. We'll discuss all those tonight. What I'm going to do now is start the show officially, and on the other side, I will introduce any and all of the panelists tonight. So do stay tuned. In the meantime, hit the like button, share the show to your social media, invite a friend or two to check out the stream, and I'll see you right after the intro.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAC Radio. Welcome to the Bitter Medicine Podcast, where it's all about black empowerment. Our show focuses on black news and entertainment, arts, science, economics, history, people, and strategies that uplift, empower, and motivate Africans within the diaspora. And now your host, whose favorite color is black, Goku.
Welcome back to the Bitter Medicine Podcast. I am your host, Koku. Just want to remind you guys before we get the show rolling that this show is part of a podcast network called KWAZ Radio. There are other shows on the network you are invited to tune into.
This is D Webb with the Harsh Reality Podcast, asking you to tune in where we tackle the news of the day that affects our community, only on KWAZ Radio.
Peace, family. This is Oni, inviting you to listen to the Pro-Black Perspective, where black problems are addressed with black solutions.
Greetings, fam. Tune in to The Learning Curve with me, the revolutionary matron on KWAZ Radio.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAC Radio.
Yes, indeed. Make sure you guys are tuned in to the Forecast Radio. Forecast is super consistent, doing a few shows a week. So make sure to check out Forecast Radio. Check out Consider Cheek, Realm in the Bush, who's often on with Forecast at least once a week. And also check out Forecast's book. I was supposed to screenshot that. My bad. But check out Forecast's book. It's in hardcover now. At first it was in Kindle. I'm gonna screenshot that and have that on the post page community tab. But do support Forecast with his efforts with its first book. Also, check out Brother Bakari BBN Network. And I think, and last but not least, check out Kofi, the Black Critic. With that said, man, let's get right into our hosts. Our panelists tonight. First, there's Jacadero. Jacadero, how are you this week?
Yeah, I can be a host, huh?
You can.
I can be a host, man. Hey, I appreciate the welcome. It's always an honor to be here. You guys should start seeing me a lot more. Now I have a Monday through Friday schedule. So with that being said, hey, thank you, Koku, and thank you, Bitter Medicine family and Shoot the Breeze family. This is episode 233. Guys, we are 33% into the 300th episode. Huh? How about that? Thank you, Koku.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was looking at that today. 233, man. Time really flies, man. But I appreciate you being here. Maybe next week, Jack, you could host. I'll be a panelist next week.
That sounds like a plan, man. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's welcome in Black Steel this week. Black Steel, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm hanging in there, man. Thanks for coming through as always.
No problem.
Yes, sir. Let's welcome in our brother Buana. Buana, how are you this week?
I'm good. I hope everyone is good. I hope everyone is healthy this week. You know, shout out to Omaha, Nebraska. Let the jokes begin.
Buana, you ain't right, man. Something's wrong with your head, man. Something is wrong with that brain of yours, man. I appreciate you, Buana. And Black Steel, appreciate you, man.
Yes, indeed. Shout out to Provide Triggers for Evolution. Says greetings to Coco and the panel. So shout out to you, Provide Triggers. Shout out to that sister. Shout out to everyone who's listening but who hasn't revealed themselves to be out there listening. Hopefully you'll join us at least with your participation in the chat, if not your participation on the panel. Without further ado, man, let's get right into it, man. Shoot the Breeze topic number one. Shoot the Breeze topic number one says the imperial monster within, a psycho-historical perspective. This comes with a link that's going to take us to Facebook. I often don't use Facebook these days, but that's the link that was given. That's what we're going to use. Make sure you guys can see my screen. You can. We'll play it and then we'll discuss it. What's happening here? How come there's no sound?
Uniform, another history. There's a reason I believe that Americans keep looking for foreign monsters. There's something psychologically attractive about believing that the worst violence in your society is always coming from somewhere else, from another accent, another uniform, another history, another pathology, another sociopathy, another story. It preserves a myth we are deeply invested in. that America's brutality was incidental, not intentional. That brutality is a tragic detour from an otherwise noble story. It allows us to believe that guilty must have arrived from somewhere else and sitting right here, carefully, deliberately, and dare I say profitably. Outsourcing the monster protects the alluring myth of innocence. See, then the problem isn't us. It's ideology imported from Europe. It's a glitch inserted into our system, a warning sign that we can correct without self-indictment, right? Something that we can fix without looking too closely at our own system. But externalizing the monster allows a nation to avoid grieving the fact that it never healed its own. You don't heal things that you don't name. You just learn to live with it. If you look at embryonic America, and I call it embryonic America because it was an embryo, it wasn't born yet, it was an idea. But a lot of people came from Europe. They came to this land to seek freedom from oppression. And then many others from Europe came to this land to seek the freedom to oppress. The freedom to dominate without consequence. And they knew that they couldn't do it from where they had just because it had been done to them. They got that part. And they also came with a long tradition of understanding the technology of empire and how lucrative the exploitation of human beings and land could be. And until we name that as an integral part of our culture, we're not in earnest claim a serious moral footprint in the world. If our self-image requires selective amnesia or utter denial, for that matter, which is why the constant comparison to Nazis about what's happening today, while emotionally understandable, actually, I believe, does us a disservice. Hear me out. By outsourcing the monster, we let ourselves off the hook. It suggests that our most violent systems are deviations from our character rather than self-incubated expressions of it. The Nazis didn't invent this kind of psychology. They studied it from us. They studied the Confederacy. They studied Black codes. They studied Jim Crow laws. They studied how a democracy convinces itself that domination is lawful, necessary, and yes, even righteous. Before there was Gestapo, there were slave catchers. Before a state criminal existence abroad, it was perfected as a mechanism right here. My ancestors knew it. They knew what it meant for paperwork to outweigh personhood. They knew what it meant for legality to become morality. They knew what it meant when neighbors were incentivized to participate in their capture, when the law turned society itself into an enforcement arm. My ancestors, who dared to engage in the inalienable rights of liberty and freedom and step foot off of the forced labor concentration camps in which they were held, were called contraband. Contraband, which means smuggled goods, misplaced cargo, property that had wandered from where it belonged. And that word didn't come from Langston Hughes or Ta-Nehisi Coates. It wasn't some piece of prose that was a literary device by Baldwin to drive home a certain point, even though it does. It came from the law. That simply existing outside of the predetermined placement in which it put you, without permission, without papers, could turn a life into a crime. Every free breath my ancestors took was a misdemeanor. Every footstep, a felony. That began in 1793. The United States passed the first Fugitive Slave Act in that year. Before the country had even fully decided what it was, it had decided who it would not protect. The law said if an enslaved person fled, they could be hunted anywhere. Anywhere. No warrant, no real defense. Any private citizen could participate and accost that person and then turn them in for financial gain. You didn't need a badge. You didn't need proof. You didn't need to be right. You didn't need training. You just needed to believe that the law was on your side. And then in 1850, the country refined that idea. And they said that even helping an enslaved person became a federal crime. Judges received kickbacks. The accused were re-enslaved. or enslaved if they had never been slaves at all. The accused couldn't testify on their own behalf. It was crazy. Ordinary people were deputized or compelled to assist in the capture or face punishment themselves. That's right. You got jail time if you didn't help capture somebody who somebody else thought was a slave. The law didn't just criminalize physical and psychological sovereignty. It criminalized existence. And here's the part that we don't sit with enough, I think. When a society absorbs that kind of law, when it normalizes it, incorporates it, its institutions and financial ecosystems and policies around it, it doesn't experience that violence as violation anymore. It experiences it as order, as background, as natural as sunlight or the trees, just how things work. So generations pass and the language softens, the uniforms change, the targets expand to encompass the otherization of the times. And suddenly, when the same logic resurfaces, we don't even recognize it as our own signature or even as familiar. We say that feels like something else, right? By denying our own lineage, we have to say that feels foreign. But what we're doing is we're unintentionally belittling the violence that created our country's internal enforcement logic in the first place. We treat slave catching as a primitive prelude rather than the architectural foundation that it is, intended to keep order. But because the monster is foreign, then the violation isn't ours. And externalizing the monster also spares us something, well, I should say deprives us of something hard and needed, which is collective grief, collective truth, collective reconciliation, collective repair. Because you don't repair what you refuse to acknowledge is broken. So when Americans say, this isn't who we are, oh, this is not who we are, what they're often meaning is this contradicts the version of ourselves that we prefer. The myth of innocence is powerful. It's comforting. It allows brutality to feel like an exception. But innocence preserved by denial and blackness, which means that we are carrying the epigenetic imprint of surviving fascism. We don't have that luxury. We were the prototype. We lived inside the first drafts of these systems. We learned their grammar early, how law disguises itself as order, how dominance learns to speak softly, how violence survives becoming normal, which means that within the exotification of dehumanization, there's something really important being missed in this moment. There's a real power in listening to the people who have already survived what is now being scaled to the general public, because we are too familiar with how it feels when the law decides that your existence is the crime. At some point, we as a nation have to stop outsourcing the monster and look in the mirror, because it deprives us of something else as well. How to fix it. Because if the monster isn't foreign, then neither is the resistance. Choose love. There's a reason I believe that Americans keep.
For those who might be wondering who's the gentleman speaking, you might be familiar with him. He's an actor named Makad Brooks. I didn't realize it was him at first. He was in the Mortal Kombat movies. He was in a Medea movie. Tyler Perry movie, and he was on the TV show Supergirl back in the day. I was surprised that he, whether I agree with him or not, I was surprised that he would even have this conversation. Usually, a lot of black entertainers don't have this conversation. So I'll give him that. But I'll be curious to see what my panelists think. I know Black Steel was like, "Who the fuck are we?" When he keeps saying "we." Black Steel, what would you like to say about what you just heard?
So, I don't man, I'm tired of trying to lecture and appeal to the better angels of these crackers' nature, right? The whole idea he's talking about outsourcing the violence, he brings up a good point. Much of what the fascists and the Nazis learned was from America, right? The United States is a settler colony. This country was built on the enslavement of Africans and the genocide of the indigenous people of this continent, right? You don't get good things from, a poison tree. You can't eat the fruit from a poison tree. But he's saying these things as if, if you point at white people or Europeans will do the right thing as soon as they know how to, right? I think we're well beyond that. I think we're well beyond trusting in the better angels of our nature that the Euro-American can one day wake up and realize, we're treating people horribly, guys, and we shouldn't do this. I don't think I think we're beyond that. These people do not deserve the right to rule over us, to control the global economy, to control the social, political reins of power, either anywhere in the world, because eventually it turns into a death cult. It turns into omnicide. It turns into destruction of people and lives and ecosystems, and they do it without blinking. And then 30 years, 20 years from now, they'll make a movie about how somebody was so horrible, they suffered PTSD from going and experiencing what they did. It's old. And the whole time all this is happening, people are suffering and dying. I don't think we should try. There's no more time to reason. We need to, as a people, as African people, get power for ourselves and take the reins of power. Because at this point, the European cannot be trusted to not blow up the world. Whenever they get some form of power or authority, they want to destroy everything. They want to subjugate people. They're never happy. People who are no threat to them, people who are living their lives, all of a sudden they become a threat, And again, he's right about the projection, because it's so funny when not too long ago, everyone was talking about how the radical Shia Muslims in Iran was such a threat. But then you have people in the United States who want to start a nuclear war in the Middle East so Jesus can come back. So who's the radical religious fanatic, right? You're willing to start a nuclear war so that way you can start the war of Armageddon. But see, whenever these Europeans get a hold of something, it's always converted to a weapon or to aggression. They could take something as innocent or as peaceful, and then all of a sudden they weaponize it in some way. They weaponize food. They weaponize language. They weaponize religion. Everything in their hand is a weapon, which means we got to take it out of their hands because they're not fit to control us. I don't disagree with his points, right? The intellect, it's not us. We've always been acted upon. The truth of the matter is, America is the biggest threat to this country is this country, right? That's the true reality. There's no outside force that's coming to end America as much as we like it. We just have to. We don't have to. All you got to do is step out the way and they'll destroy themselves. The problem is that they're not going to go down without a fight. They're going to take most of the world with them. There's no, education. This is wrong, guys. And can you understand? This is how things like the Nazis came to be. Yeah, they know that. They know that. They're not dumb. They're well aware of all of this. They know their history just as well as we know their history. But the fact is they don't care. I think it's not a matter of lack of knowledge. It's a matter of lack of will to do better. And because they lack the will to do better, because they let their government and their economy be captured by white supremacists, white nationalists, Christian fascists. If you got a kid who keeps fucking up, eventually take their toys away. You get in trouble at school. I'm take away your phone. You take away your PlayStation. You can't go outside. They've been fucking up for forever, really. Since the Industrial Revolution, they've been causing global destruction. These people cannot be kept in control because if you do look at the damage they've done. So I don't disagree with his point, but I think that, at the end of the day, he's really screaming into the void because it's not going to change their perspective and educate them. Maybe a few liberal whites, but for the masses, nah, we're cooked. They're cooked. I should say we, because I don't include myself. I was born in the United States, yes, but they'll quickly remind you who's a quote unquote real American and who's not a real American. And I'm pretty sure my family's been in this country longer than most of these white people's family has been. But at the end of the day, to be American is to be anti-black. And we could talk more about that later, but I'll leave it there.
Well done, Black Steel. Cooking already. Man, I appreciate that a lot. With that said, let's go to Jackadero. Jackadero, what's it?
I'm pissed because I had to follow Black Steel. Black Steel. I don't think that I will ever forgive you for having me go after you.
Oh wow, it's like that.
Because I'm pissed. I have to follow that. This guy was boring. Hey! If he's listening, Mr. Mustache, huh? You are boring, Mr. Imperial Monster Within. This guy was boring. To be honest, I listened to the entire thing. It's like reading a chapter of a book. You read every page and you have no idea what you read. That's what this guy represented. And his, it looks like it was on TikTok. Why America seeks foreign masters. I don't know why we're still having this conversation. My guy, come on, man. We have African giants. The Sahel countries should let you know. Come on. So what I got from Backsteel, because I didn't get it from him. Yeah, provide triggers. You're absolutely right. I can't follow Black Steel. Black Steel is an intellectual. I am far from that, man. I don't have too much to add. Everybody knows by now. If you don't know by now that the United States, like D. Webb is saying, is a death cult, they kidnapped a sitting president. Guys, again, understand. A sitting president of a foreign nation was kidnapped, human trafficked, him and his wife. To this day, they're still in New York City. Again, maybe I'm wrong as far as the location exactly of Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela's whereabouts, but so that Iran, Israel pretty much forced the United States current administration to join this war that, according to some rumors, Netanyahu is dead. Woo! And if he is, I fucking love it. Woo! I usually don't celebrate death, but this one, yes, yes, woo, yes, woo, yes. And you're probably asking, Jacadero, why are you celebrating Bibi Yahu's potential death? Because it's because of you. It's because of you, Israel. It's because of you, Israel, that gas prices are high. Now you're probably wondering, okay, Jacadero, what does this have to do with you, right? In the African diaspora. Well, the African diaspora here in Omaha, Nebraska, where I'm located at, if we pay higher gas prices, that means that certain monies cannot go to what they go to. Again, I represent the Empowerment Network, which is the parent of 360 program that puts Black American and Black immigrant children towards mentors, tutors, and everything outside and in between. And we spend our own monies towards gas to get those students, right? And so if the gas, right, I think the last time I checked, it was $120 a barrel. Just to give you guys, for those that don't know, for every if I do the math, I think it's about $10, right? For every $10, it's like 25 to 25 cents. So every $10 a barrel, it's about 20 to 25 cents per gallon of gas in the United States. So that means that, hey, if it gets to $140 per barrel because Iran has closed the Strait of Hormuz, which they have every valid reason to do, that means that gas might be $5 to $6. Satan Yahoo, if you are dead, sucks to suck. Sucks to suck. Say hi to Ronald Reagan for me. So anyways, this is not about they call him BB, huh? Call him BB Netanyahu. It's not about him. This is about this guy that was boring. Oh my God. If you're gonna be long-winded, at least be somewhat interesting. You were long-winded and you were boring. Yeah, he just sounds like he's a victim. And I don't like to use that just because it's a low-hanging fruit in today's it seems like in today's Black political and socio-political conversations, low-hanging fruit, as far as, or not the low-hanging fruit, but the term victim, he just sounds like a victim. Come on, man. Look at the Sahel countries. Look at South Africa. South Africa summoned this week. South Africa summoned, meaning they called the new U.S. ambassador to South Africa and said, hey, those comments that you made last week, huh? Those comments after you've been on the job for 30 days, Mr. Bozell. For those that don't know, Mr. Bozell, the U.S. ambassador to South Africa, has only been on the job for 30 days. He went to South Africa in one of the coastal towns, and he started to criticize the South African government, saying, number one, destroy or eliminate or distance your guys' relationship with Iran. Fuck you. Suck a dick. Kiss ass. Whatever insult that you want, insert right there. Number two, he wanted South Africa to get rid of its apartheid museum. Yeah. Oh, I can say so much here, but I'll restrain myself. I usually try to keep professional and I try to keep decorum right on this show, but Mr. Bozell, U.S. ambassador to South Africa, kick rocks. Huh? The other thing that he wanted was this whole fake allegation of genocide against white farmers in South Africa. Again, that most even white South Africans won't even agree on. Huh? I say all that to say, Mr. Mustache, that's on the screen. Come on, man. We have more power players than you think. Maybe, just maybe, the information that you're getting is that we are all weak. Come on, get out of here. Get out of here. Black Steel, you did a great job. I don't have anything else to add.
I appreciate that, Jacadero. You know, one thing I gotta give Jacadero, I really like your personality, man. Be yourself. I tend to be more subdued, but just be you, man. Be that person that you are right there. I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate it.
In the chat earlier, Black Seal asked the question, "Who the fuck is we?" Referring to Makad Brooks, including us in his little rant here. Trigger Happy in the chat says, but if we are being fair, many of our people identify with that, which tells you there is no resistance movement. I think that's a very important point to make. Hopefully someone else will expand upon that later. He says, if there was talks of internal Israeli affairs, many Palestinians would probably exclude themselves from that convo. I want to shout out this brother here, Real Truth and Power. He says, peace and blessings from Brother Everett of the UNIA. I was, Buana could speak more to this, but he connected me with Brother Everett, who's the leader of the UNIA in Baltimore. That's the brother right there, Real Truth and Power. So shout out to Brother Everett for joining us tonight. Hopefully we can talk a little bit more in the future. And if you want, you can click the link at the top of the chat. You can actually join us on the panel tonight and share your Gaviite opinions on these topics that we're discussing. D-Web is in the chat. Shout out to D-Web from the Harsh Reality Podcast. He says it's not going to happen in the U.S. Got to move. Needs to be accepted. This entire, quote-unquote, we built this country movement is a trap. The U.S. is a death cult and remains so for the foreseeable future. Provide triggers revolution agrees with Jacadero. She says you can't follow Black Steel. That's a rule I try to live by on Shoot the Breeze. Provide triggers also says the N to BEE had some words to share in that too. He needs to be expelled. She goes on to say the U.S. ambassador to South Africa needs to be expelled. So again, Shoot the Breeze topic number 1 says the imperial monster within. Psycho-historical perspective. Buana, you've heard everything everyone else had to say. What say you to all of it?
Yeah. So obviously they sharing out and drinking a whole lot of palm wine in Omaha, Nebraska tonight. So we're not gonna get into some of the ramblings what's been going on. But I say this. Jacadero is our younger brother, and I do appreciate his personality as well. I really do. But I listen to the things that he says. I listened to he made 2 points tonight, and I listened to very carefully. He said he was boring. And when you are communicating, especially to a younger audience, you must have the ability to convey words where you can connect with anyone. So sometimes you, I know some of the brothers are more cerebral and more intellectual, but sometimes when you are talking to the masses of people, you must simplify. You know, it's easy to simplify and still make a connection and still get your point across. And I think that sometimes people want to be so cerebral where they go past the listener in terms of messaging. So just use simple language and simple words. You know, you don't have to pretty up the language sometimes. That's one point that he made. The next point that he made is Jacadero says, the hell with this victim stuff. Look at the people in the AES. So as a younger person, as a younger brother, they are moving from a position of strength. They don't want to hear. he's my good fan now, but they don't want to hear. They don't want to hear that woe is me stuff. Now, I would only answer that and say that you must not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Okay, you must not forget your history. History is history, even though our history did not start in victimization. You must not forget that particular situation because these things are all connected. But you must not stay there either. So Jacadero, I'm speaking about resolving issues, resolving problems, speaking and standing from a position of strength, you know, because unfortunately we live in a different kind of world right now. So the younger people do not want to hear that messaging anymore. They don't want to hear that messaging anymore. So you must give them more food for thought in terms of moving and navigating through the world. And you're not going to reach the people you're trying to reach with that kind of messaging. So this is the reason why I listen to the younger brothers and their responses to some of the dialogues going on. And I know this guy, he used to be on one of my favorite shows, Law and Order. So he was trying to use law and order to basically describe historical situations what was happening in the United States. And I get that. But in terms of messaging, you know, if I don't know who his audience is, but sometimes when you simplify, you tend to reach more people. Just simplify the language, you're gonna reach more people. And the brothers like Jacadero ain't gonna press the snooze button on you, you know. So you have to be careful of that. But I can't really add to what the brother said. The brother, for me, he was clear. You know, it wasn't a difficult listen for me. And he was talking about the historical situation going on in the United States. I think Black Steel made commentary as to how he looked on it, being a Black American man. So, you know, for me, it's clear. I can't really add to this. I can't really add to this. So I'll leave it for this particular prompt.
Juan, you want to shout out Brother Everett in the chat?
Yeah, I know, brother Everett. If you do, I know that you. My thing was to formally introduce you to the Better Medicine podcast to make some great connections. You're a very intelligent man on this panel, and they will give you an audience. And if you want to, maybe next week or whenever, I just really wanted to give you a formal introduction. Um, but I'm sure that you're gonna get with Koku and you're gonna work something out. But shout out to you, brother. Thank you for coming on, and you're welcome to click. You're welcome not to, and to just listen. But welcome to the Bitter Medicine podcast. I'll leave it.
Yes, indeed. Is there any last thoughts on this prompt before we move to Shoot the Breeze topic number 2?
Really quickly, I just want to say, I'm nobody special, guys. I put my pants on one leg at a time like everybody else. I read a lot, but I grew up in a time we didn't have computers or laptops or phones. But um, I don't want anybody to ever feel like, oh, you can't come behind me, because everybody definitely adds value to the conversation. But I will say, just I believe his mentality, Mr. Brooks' mentality, is he's speaking from the perspective of of being an American citizen, right? But I don't think that his analysis goes far enough, and I think that there are some uncomfortable truths that not just Americans, and I guess he's trying to speak to, the psychological need that white people, that the Euro American population needs to, you know, otherize the enemy, or the problem is the outside enemy. It's not us; we're being acted upon like an outside force, and I really think that does a disservice. And I think that we have to be able to call a thing, right? And I always like to refer to Dr. Bobby E. Wright's book, The Psychopathic Racial Personality, but also even their own the great leaders of this quote unquote great leaders of this country have realized the threat has always been within us. I believe it was Abraham Lincoln who said that as a nation of free men, we will live forever or die by suicide. And he was talking about during the Civil War with the threats of the Union, the Confederacy, and the threat of foreign intervention in the Civil War. But he realized that the threat was never going to come from England or France or anybody else like that. It was always internal. And we see his words coming to life even now. It's going to be a shock to see that if this country survives. And I did off topic. I wasn't aware that the South Africa ambassador was saying that you got to get rid of the apartheid museum, but it tracks because here in the U.S., what are they doing? They're trying to erase Black history, remove things about mentions of slavery and museums and things like that. They even take down the fact that Trump was impeached twice, and they removed that from his presidential.
Black Steel, real quick.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
The South African ambassador to the United States last year was expelled. Just to let you know. Just to let the people know. The South African ambassador last year was expelled from the United States because of allegations of genocide towards the Afrikaners, which, again, is not even true. No evidence. So it was a shock to me. You're 30 days into your position, and now you're trying to tell the South African government what to do. Go to hell.
But that type of behavior tracks for this administration, right? There's no more pretense of diplomatic decorum or none of that stuff. It's just full on white nationalism in your face. And they can't even pretend to hide it anymore. They can't even pretend to hide it anymore. And that's just, America has taken off the veil of decency and respect and all that other stuff. It's all that's in the past now. Now it's just full naked colonialism and imperialism.
Well, a great start to Saturday Night Shoot the Breeze. I appreciate all of your input, especially the chat. Hopefully, we'll continue this with the rest of throughout the rest of the night. I just want to quickly say that There was two things. I forgot the other one, but one thing I remember is they recently showed footage of books, Black history books, being burnt in Florida. That tells you how far these people are going now. They're burning books in Florida. Last week we talked about with Brother Bakari that in Florida, what was it again? They're not allowed to say. Is it Black history? That it's something that they're not allowed to say anymore. I forgot what it is now, but that's something to keep in mind as we go forward. Mikael Brooks mentioned something in this video here. He mentioned epigenetics, and I thought that was interesting. As we move to Shoot the Breeze topic number 2, we're going to discuss the epigenetics a little bit. Shoot the Breeze topic number 2, the epigenetics of Black versus white people. This comes with a link. Make sure it's showing. Of course, there's a little glitch with StreamYard where when you try to switch from one tab to the next, it cuts off the sound. So you guys should be able to see my screen now. This is a tweet from Jean-Jacques Dessalines. If you're on Twitter, you're probably familiar with their account. It says, question, if the trauma of slavery lives in the epigenetics of Black people, then does the evil of white supremacy live in the epigenetics of white people? So we're going to watch this video, and it's pretty short, and then we'll discuss it.
This woman just said, if the trauma of slavery lives in the epigenetics of Black people, she's a Black woman, then doesn't the evil of slave owning live in the epigenetics of white people? And I would argue yes. My family, my heritage, I am Irish Mexican and a little bit of Germanic, but I also learned at my family reunion last year with our second cousins. Our oldest relative came over on the Mayflower and had a slave with him. Now, my grandmother married my grandpa, her being some mud of whiteness, and my grandfather being deep Native Mexican. Her father was vindictively racist. His name was also Camillus, which is the most comically evil name I've ever heard. But she always says that her father's mother was the actual devil, and that we are breeding the evil out of us. And I actually feel it. I feel like a vindictive cruelty in my own mouth sometimes. I know words I could use to dismantle people, and I've learned to stop that impulse, but it only got easier when I stopped hating myself and falling in love with life and falling in love with the beauty of nature. But I think a lot of people, because they refuse to acknowledge that cruelty innate to their genetic makeup, they'll never escape it, and they will never make the conscious effort to breed it out of them. And obviously, like, I'm not saying you have to marry a person of color as a white person to like clean up the bloodline and the genetics. I'm saying you have to do a lot of deep and intentional work on yourself. You have to find that vein of malice and cut it at the root and suture it shut. And you just have to be aware of yourself.
You just have to be aware of yourself. In the chat, Trigger Happy says, already starting on the wrong foot. You can't start at slavery, and I agree with that too. This psychopathy from white folks goes way back, even before that. But I'm going to mix it up this time. I'm going to start with Buana this time. Buana, what say you to the epigenetics of Black versus white people?
Well, the epigenetics of Black people. So in Howard, this lady was referencing the references of epigenetics. She starts from the place of trauma, and I guess she was speaking broadly, but I don't, there is trauma in my family's history and background. I'm sure it is, but I don't walk through the world like that. I don't, so I don't know, I guess she's referencing her experiences with Black people and what comes out of their own mouths, but I don't walk through the world from that position. I don't walk through the world with that position. And this particular lady, she was talking about her history and how she's Irish and Mexican. I just really can't make heads or tails out of what she was really getting at. You know, is she trying to exercise the devils in her mind? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? But I personally think that with black people, I think that black people have had faced traumatic situations where we have been able to overcome, overcome very traumatic situations. So it speaks to our diligence, greatness, endurance, all kind of things, resilience. So why don't you start from the level of resiliency rather than starting from a level of being traumatized? It's all in framing, man. It's all in framing and how you really look at the world. I understand that we have to address historical grievances that may have happened to us, but I think it's how you decide to walk through the world. I always tell the brothers on the panel, you must exercise agency, and that's one of the things that they didn't have back then. They didn't have their own agency, but in 2026, black men have a degree of agency more so than they did 100 and 200 years ago. And I think that you have the ability to exercise these things. You can't walk through the world with having this idea of being a traumatic victim forever. I don't think that you should walk through the world like that. I don't, because people smell that on you, like dogs smell fear. Like dogs smell fear. So if we have to exercise the demons within us, I think that we need to start reframing some of the things and ideas that's so prevalent within our community, like being traumatized, like they gonna get us. And no, you as Jacadero was initially saying before, I think that you should walk through the world with strength. You should walk through the world in terms of you being equal to every other human being on this planet. There's things that's happened to black people all over the world. There's things that happen to people in general all over the world. But it's just how you decide to exercise your own agency. You have to start from that position. You got to. But that's me working things out, and I don't want to attempt to speak for other black people. I really don't. So I'll leave it there, Coco.
No, but Juan, before you go, with what has happened to us, right, as black folks, and it's not about being a perpetual victim. In fact, I think it's really about reversing the victimhood. We've never really had a moment to say, how you doing? You doing okay? When the edict came that slavery was abolished, we were just told, okay, well, go and fend for yourself now. Go and, go off this plantation now. And if you remember in your readings, some of our ancestors held tightly to the porch of the plantation house. They didn't want to leave because they didn't know what was out there, and they had to, they were forced to kind of deal with it. But we've never had repair or restoration.
I agree. Coco, I agree. I think that let me speak to this country. I think that we should, in the Caribbean, we should have gone through a process of decolonization. There should have been institutional decolonization. Unfortunately, the leaders here rather decided to go to the way of integration. They wanted to forget in terms of here's historical traumatic experiences and events that took place prior to us becoming a quote unquote independent. So they decide not to deal with it. So we have a bunch of people here, unfortunately, with what I call black amnesia victims. And it's really only the people who attempt to really try to pick up the pieces through reading, through their own personal development, through struggle, that they find some way, as far as personal healing. But we have not had institutional healing yet. So, for the people who know better, we should push for things like that. We should put, and you know what? And to be honest with you, you have like some governments pushing in terms of reparations, and they have pointed programs in terms of how to address the issues that these former colonialized people would have faced. The problem I have with that is the people who oppress you, going back to them to ask them to repair us and make us better. That's like me telling, that's like me going to a criminal and telling the criminal to repair me from the things you took away from me. How do you repair someone who is raped? How do you repair someone who is unalive? Their children is unalive for generations and generations. How do you repair someone who is denied their own humanity? And you go to the person who is inhumane and say, "Give me back my humanity." That's ridiculous. You don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. You go into an inhumane person and telling them to give us back our humanity, give us back our culture. He don't know what African culture is. In fact, he'll tell you you would be better not knowing what African culture was, because African culture was devilishment. Thank God for slavery, because we took you away from that devil business which you was doing over there. So these are things that I feel like the black man should take it upon himself to do. We must engage in terms of giving our own, re-educating our own selves and reprogramming the mind of our own selves and our own people. And I feel the best way to do that is through institutions. And unfortunately or unfortunately, the only places we have right now in terms of institutions is the churches. Now we're working on that. We're working to change that paradigm. But for right now, I mean, unless you're doing it on your own, and I know you are completely against rugged individualism, you must seek these things out for yourself. You must exercise a degree of urgency, because if you're curious about knowing who you are and how to get from one place to another, I think that your hunger and drive and determination going to push you to action towards that direction. And not everyone hungry. That's the thing. And I can't force feed people who ain't want to eat the food that I serving up, but I must still try to do the best that I can. I just, that's where I am with it. That's why I say you have to exercise your own agency. Matron, the matron, the great sister, she is trying to educate the people through reading every week. She's reading a book right now in terms of slavery in Jamaica. She read a book in terms of the American slave coast and many other things. And these things are intellectual food, spiritual food. These things are giving you points of contact for so many different references. And look at her audience. It's little to none. If the people ain't hungry for it, I can't force feed people to eat. But at least the presence is there. The idea is to do the work itself. Now, who want to listen? They can hear what you have to say. But the others gonna pay a deaf ear to it and then say, "Woe is me," and we ain't had nothing because these white people ain't give us nothing and they ain't educate us properly. Come on, man. You have a smartphone in your hand, but unfortunately, we don't have enough smart people to know how to use a smartphone. You could touch the world. You could learn a million things on the phone in your hand, but it's what you do with it. And if you decide to take this phone and put it in the pig pen, that's where it could be. You can't blame other people for, well, let me don't get into that. But that's where I am with it, Kuku. I'll leave it there.
But I'm not trying to single you out or anything, but before I move on to the other panelists.
Single me out. That's okay. Single me out.
Provide Trigger says, from a mental health perspective, we do need to have formal structural mechanisms via institutions to undertake decoloniality processes. Not that it's our business per se, because this is where I interject my belief. Not that it's our business per se, but should these white folks go through a process of a mental, from a mental health perspective, to figure out the problems that they have with their superiority complex? What's your opinion?
Why should they? Their world works for them. That world works for them. Them telling you, if you watch Rambo could go into a whole country and and unalive all the citizens. Yeah, and then come out as the dominant character. Who don't want to be told that they're the greatest in the world? That feels so good. Tarzan could go to Africa and speak to all animals and all the natives. They have been living there for 100 and 400 and 500 years, but they can't speak to the elephants and the monkeys. But Tarzan could do it. You know, they are signaling and conditioning the mind of the regular person. So the black man still trying to raffle with this idea of equality and want to be looked at as same as same. That their institution does not work that way. And Trump is showing everybody, the world, that right now. This is how we want the world to be run. And if you want to take what we have, you gotta fight for it in many different kinds of ways. You gotta be willing to fight for it. If he sees himself as that, would it be beneficial to you to not see yourself as that as well? I mean, at least it'll put you on an equal plane and footing. But if you decide to see yourself as a second in command, you know, as the butler, he's not going to disabuse you of that idea. As a matter of fact, he's going to push that. You know, so it's what you tell yourself at the end of the day. I'm not trying to, listen, man, I'm not trying to fix the white person's personality and persona, because that world benefits him greatly. But it's what the people around him tells themselves. You know, if you take on the position as Tonto to his Long Ranger, you will always be second class and coming in second place. Always. You'll always be following his lead. But if you decide to say, well, listen, I could lead in some of this world too. Some of this world belong to me as well. You got to tell yourself that, because he is not going to stop telling himself, I am the greatest. And Muhammad Ali used to call himself the greatest forever, even though he used to get beat up. He used to still call himself, I'm the greatest, I'm the greatest, I'm the greatest. Yes, this is him reframing and reprogramming his own mind. You know, so I'm not gonna fight the white man to stop calling himself great and uncondition his own mind away from that. And he is willing to do what it takes to to underline that statement. You know, and the question becomes, is the black man willing to do the same kinds of things? I don't know. For his struggle for equality, whatever the hell that means, he will perpetually come in second place and then complain that he ain't being treated fairly. The world is not working in the way that you want it to work for you because it's not been designed like that. Y'all continue to try to exercise the white man from his demons of superiority and see what you get for that. Agency, exercise a degree of your own agency is where I stand on this position, Coco.
No, I appreciate that, boy. I don't even disagree. Like I said, I don't think it's me personally. I don't think it's my business whether they seek help. But Provide Triggers does make a point in the chat when she says that world may work for them, however, will inevitably destroy the planet. And I think as African people, we tend to be conservationists of the planet, and these people are not. And
Provide Triggers. Don't underestimate the planet. The planet been here 1 million years, long before human beings ever existed. And if the planet get ready, it'll shake off so-called humanity like a bad flu, like a bad cold. Don't underestimate the planet. These people don't have enough power as much as you believe that they do.
Real quick in the chat, Sister Raw says greetings to me and the whole yard. So shout out to Sister Raw. Appreciate you for being here. Trigger Happy in the chat says, if you don't want your offspring to be self-hating, you do everything you can to avoid someone who is self-hating. It goes on to say, white people ain't did no deep cleaning of their psychopathy since they have turned white. That's why it's deeper than slavery. I appreciate your comments in the chat. Please keep them coming. I'll read as many of them as I can on air. With that said, let me hear from Black Steel. Black Steel, what are your thoughts on the epigenetics of black versus white people?
Well, I agree
with what she's saying. Epigenetics is basically just trauma or things passed down from one generation to another, right? And African people have experienced incredible harm. And I don't think there's any shame in saying so, right? I always dislike when people talk about a victim mentality, because being a victim isn't the problem, right? Being the victimizer is the issue. But it's so funny how the negative is placed on the person who suffered the harm instead of the person who committed the harm. So African people have experienced separated from their families, brutalization, rape, all form of tortures. And when you experience this and there's no restitution, that trauma gets passed down. And just think about it, to, like you were saying, our ancestors came through hundreds of years of this treatment, right? Think about how many Black women who were sexually violated, forced to bear their master's children, right? And then all of a sudden, oh, it's over now. You want to come work for me? Like everything is all great. Think about the man who saw his family, his brother, sold away. He never saw his family again. There's records of of Black people searching for their family members who had been sold away from them when they were children. Their sisters, their brothers, their cousins, their mothers, their fathers, and they never saw them again. So when you have this level of trauma and this pain that never gets addressed, right? We have this wound that festers, right? And they say if you don't treat your wound, you're going to bleed over everything. And that is, again, the epigenetic, that type of trauma is deeply within African people, right? And as far as white people, right, she wants to base it as slavery. Okay, whatever. You could go all the way back to the Roman time because before the European ever met an African, it was brutalizing each other, right? The problem does not lie in the fact that we are Black. The problem is the fact that they are white. The negative should be placed on them. They was out here burning women alive for being witches. They was conducting all sort of type of torture devices to use against other Europeans who might have been Catholic or Protestant or anything else like that. They didn't need Black people to be savages, right? So exactly to the point that Trigger Happy was saying, it goes before slavery, right? They have to exercise this demon that made them, monsters and savages and brutes, going to every continent and committing genocide and wiping out, almost half of the terrestrial mammals on Earth. This is something that they got to deal with within themselves, right? And they've never really felt they were the problem, right? Whenever they talk about the godless savages, right? They're bringing civilization to the world. It's so funny. We recently in my class we had to do we did our unit on imperialism, and one of the vocab words was the white man's burden, right? The responsibility that the European felt to civilize the world, take up the white man's burden, to go and spread civilization and democracy and rulership. And there were some political cartoons that I had them analyze and write a paragraph about. Anyways, I'm digressing on my point. But this mentality that they have, that they've never really dealt with their problem. They don't feel like they're the problem, right? Everyone else is the problem. And the thing is, they only respect strength. When you start messing with their money, when you start killing their sons and daughters, then they kind of feel like, hey, maybe we're the bad guys. Even with everything that's going on in this country right now, they don't really feel like the bad guys. And I would say this too. This is not working for white people. This world does not work for the majority of the European population, right? If you look at it from an economic standpoint, from a social standpoint, it's not really working for the average day-to-day white person. The only thing they really have is at least I'm not black, which is why their brain seems to almost shut down, or they go into a rage when they see a person who isn't white actually achieving anything. Oh, you got a nice car? How you have that? I'm white. I don't have a nice car. Oh, you got a nice house? I'm white. I don't have a nice house. Or you got all your teeth? Oh, how you manage that? I'm white. I can't keep all my teeth. It's the whiteness, the idea of whiteness is the only thing that they really have. Because if they were to get rid of that, they would be able to see how messed up their lives are, right? And how very little the elites and the people in power care about the average white person. As their birth rates decline, right? As the suicide rate goes up, as they lose more and more of every ill-gotten gain that they've gotten, whiteness don't work for them. The idea of whiteness is really just a placebo to get their mind off of the real stuff. But the problem is you can't tell them that. You can't reason with these people. Only thing you can do is fight them. So I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Well stated there, Black Steel. Let's welcome in I Can Fire this week. I Can Fire, how are you?
Yo, what go on, my people? Respect to the host,
Yes, sir.
and hopefully there is no arrogant people on the channel where my speech will maybe irritate them in any way, so they would see me.
Woo! Let's go.
Yeah,
Absolutely, man. Stand on
'cause-
business, big dog.
yeah, there's a lot of short temper people who, when we speak about what is necessary to be spoken about, they get angry because it's the core. Anyway, about this when it comes to Guana, right? I don't know if he's learning anything from me, but I agree with everything he's saying. You feel me? I like to talk solutions. You feel me? Well, we all know the problems, or we all talk about a lot of day-to-day problems. You feel me? When it comes to white people again, or even any other nations, I can't really pay no attention to them. Of course, and then we're not in the we as black people, we're actually not in the condition to be thinking about other races, because India has been semi-colonized, China has been semi-colonized. They have never been fully colonized. None of them have been in our real condition, the real condition of the African. You feel me? So we're actually exceptional in this world. And we actually have to prove ourselves to ourselves how exceptional we are in terms of positive. White people gave us the blueprint to escape. You feel me? And it's calling yourself black. That is one of the main escape in terms of our solution when it comes to especially Africa. You feel me? The word Africa is distorting Africans. You feel me? It's distorting them. Personally, I think that Africa should be named in a color in terms of what the color of the people. That's how somehow find violet or something. We have to find a way to describe Africa in color, because this is how Africa is. The word Africa is distorting Africans, right? Their tribes already have distorted them, because most of their tribes, the names have nothing to do with their color. You feel me? And a- a- and when it comes to the name Africa, some random colorless individual can call themselves African. You feel me? So it's distorting everything. Now you have now you have North Africa, right? And these careless Ethiopians, I mean the Africans, are calling them Africans. You feel me? And even in South Africa, you have some careless black people calling white people Africans. You feel me? So what it's doing is, what that name does is make things ambiguous. You feel me? It make things ambiguous even to the African, even to the black person in Africa. Now I'm glad that black power came up and black power movement came up. I think white people gave us the solution, because the French, Spanish, um, Portuguese, those Europeans, England, Germany, they united as white. Now they are the German tribe and the Dutch tribe, and they are those tribes with different clans inside those tribes, just like Africa, right? But what they did is unify under white, and that burst their economy because of unification towards white people, and made us even more in their mind inferior because of how powerful they were getting, including military power. You feel me? Would that subject us even more? A lot of Africans don't understand, even, okay, in the time of like the 15th century, 14th, 13th century, Africans were trading gold. And a lot of Africans didn't even understand. I don't know if it's selfishness. Of course, it's because they didn't consider themselves as black and they didn't try to unify as black at that time. You feel me? So they didn't understand that Europeans was planning to take everything. Of course, some of us was protecting the gold, and they knew that Europeans would steal it and everything, but they didn't even understand the magnitude of what was going on, where these savages was gonna come and take everything from you, all of you. You feel me? So we don't understand the savageness of Europeans. The Christianity and the wit. A lot of us still, we you hear a lot of people talking all type of mess to white people and all that. It's best we close our mouth. Don't talk mess to white people. Chill. It's not that you're a coward, but respect your enemies. Don't make your enemy. Don't act like your enemies are idiots. The people that you are a POW, you're not supposed to be acting like they are idiots and speak to them like you think they are idiots. You feel me? We need to really chill. Of course, hold your head high, but we need to really chill. You feel me? Especially in our communities. Because we need to understand the wit of these people. These people have psychologically controlled us, not just by weapons. They have controlled us psychologically. That's why our burden is so heavy as Pan-Africanism, Pan-Africanist, and as the movement Pan-Africanism. You feel me? The burden is heavy because of the mental barrier on our people. So these people, imagine somebody controlling millions of people's minds. You feel me? I mean, like, look how we trying to, as Pan-Africanists, we trying to, how long we're trying to reach our people. And it's all desolation because the glitter and the glamour and the propaganda is so sweet. all of that from the white people is so sweet and attractive. You understand? Because they will even feed you. You feel me? So that's the trick of these people, and we need to understand these things, and that's what Africans don't understand. And that's why they get taken over, because these people will smile with you and kill you. And now we
So
have been a moral. Yes,
so
sir.
I can. I feel everything. I feel everything that you're saying, but I want you to speak quickly to the idea of what the prompt is asking. If it's the case that black folks have carried on and passed down the trauma of being victimized by white supremacy, do white folks need to find some help in terms of their being the victimizer and passing that down through the generations? What say you to that?
Well, me personally, I know what can heal white people. You feel me? Um, white people are and are engulfed with greed. They are overburdened by greed. You feel me? And 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 through greed, okay, one time white people used to have their money reserved for their children and all that. These things are cutting down. Reason is because white people think that, okay, having less children would mean they keep their money longer and have less to share, less people to share with. You feel me? So what they did is try to cut their population, not share the money. So therefore, they are causing extinction on their own self because of greed. You feel me? So the only thing that can heal white people is poverty. And it would also rejuvenate their population. That's the only answer for white people. They have to be broken down to poverty. You understand? That's my answer right there.
All right, I appreciate that. I'll be curious to hear what the rest of the panel has to say to that. I think poverty might be a part of the problem with white folks. I think they have a scarcity mindset, which fuels their greed and fuels their expansionism. But we'll see what the chat says and what the rest of the panelists will say. Let me go to Jacadero. You've heard everything everyone else.
One more second, Quaker. To you, I want to say this to you.
Yes, Kobe.
If Quaker. All right, listen this, my brethren. If their problem is if you say, all right, they are rich, ultra rich, right? White people is like very ultra, very, very rich. They are the gold thieves of the traditional world. You feel me? They are the diamond thieves. They are the everything of what they made us consider value. They have it all, including petrodollar. You feel me? So what I'm trying to tell you is one of white people's main problem at this moment is depopulation. You feel me? It's not even financial um downturn. It's not even that. It's depopulation. So of course, but what happening is their greed is causing them to be so tyrannic in the world. Because yes, they want to rule and have everything, but that still won't solve the problem of their extinction. You feel me? So they're at a dilemma. You feel me? And the best thing for them is somebody to win, and overwhelm them. I don't think they should totally die out. You feel me? But I think somebody should win, overwhelm them, and they'll be reduce them to maybe close to poverty, but close enough so they can have large ghettos. You feel me? And therefore less electricity. So they have more time with each other, around each other, creating families with small, with as you say, scarcity. You feel me? And that will raise polite and dignified white people with large families. Sorry to take up your times like that.
You talk about creating a wildlife refuge for like we did for the bison or the bald eagle?
Yeah, something like that.
All right, let's
No, like the favelas.
Brother Bakari is in the chat. He says, "What the hell?" Shout out to Sister Cheryl, who's out there in the chat as well, providing some commentary. But Jack Cadero, you've heard it what Icon and the others had to say, as well as the chat. What say you to all of it?
I appreciate it, Brother Quenco.
Unbelievable.
I apologize, man. By the way, my Caribbean brother is Koku. Brother Koku. It's an Akan name. Come on, my guy. Come on. All right. So for the prompt, man, there's been a lot. So give me a moment to see what the prompt was exactly. The epigenetics of Black versus white people. And she was asking, if Black people are a result of their ancestors' trauma and grief, are we a result of their greed and transgression, et cetera, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, duh. Duh. The fact that you're asking this on, I think it looks like maybe TikTok or Instagram, duh. But you're benefiting. You're benefiting. I know she said that, she's part Mexican and part whatever and a little bit of Germanic. It don't matter. You white. If you come to my village, you're white. And it's okay. Why is it okay? It's okay because you didn't choose your parents. And again, I'm not apologizing for her, for those that are listening. No, this is not an apology. It's more like, hey, you do what you do and we do what we do. You do what you do and we do what we do. It's only in the United States that we're in this dynamic where, and again, the continental United States, the mainland United States, because in the U.S. Virgin Islands, that's a Black governed U.S. territory with a Black governor, Mr. I think Byron something. But nonetheless, it's like, this only exists in the United States, and I expect that because, hey, it didn't work out so well in the past, but that doesn't say that that's going to always remain in the future. Dynamics change. There was one time where Palestine ruled, and then now it's Israel. But according to Iranian news, Bibi Netanyahu has dropped that bucket. Woo! Woo! Wee! Let's go. First it was your brother, and now it's you, huh? Shit. Anyways, this is not about Bibi Netanyahu of Israel. This is about the epigenetics. Sure, you can say epigenetics. All right, for those that don't know, the epigenic term that she's using is like a study of changes in people.
Jack, your device is not connected. Your device is not connected, but let's
until he get back. I wanted to quickly answer because
go ahead,
Black Steel made a statement, and I don't know if that's really, like, so much true, because I was really considering what he say that that the pathology that the white man suffers from, it don't really work for them. And I'm considering right now the average white man, Peter Hegseth, right now, he was a news person on Fox News, and he is now the leader of the Ministry of Defense. How is that possible? He's
Well,
just an
Well,
outright
no,
man.
man.
point
Hold
blank,
on,
Huh?
man.
he's not
Oh,
the
He's
let me
the
unapologetic.
finish. Let me
minister of
finish.
war.
Let me finish,
I'm
guys.
sorry.
Let me
Go ahead.
finish,
I
man.
didn't cut you
Yeah,
off, brother.
yeah, and he well the he but okay, I don't know who the average white man is, but he was just a announcer, presenter for Fox News. Now he is the Minister of Defense, and then you have some guys who call themselves ICE. So they put on masks. They used to be the Proud Boys, a bunch of poor white boys that the president deputized to go and beat up on immigrants all throughout America. And one or two of them then unalive people and get away with it. You know what I mean? So I mean, I don't know if that you would consider that as to be beneficial or not, but to unalive someone and not be charged, to me, that is weird. And now you have this president, he is outright giving people, now on this point Black Steel is right. He is outright giving pardons for criminals. Enough criminals this man then pardon. Now they pay for it. So they should have enough money to pay for it. At least $1 million I think going for a pardon right now in America. So on that point, I would agree with Black Steel, because a person who's a millionaire in America is not necessarily average. But consider all the mediocre people right now in office in high positions, and but for these people just being white boys and carrying the line of Trump, they would never be in the positions they're in. Never. So how is it not of benefit to them? I don't understand how Blacks feel. Explain it to me, brother.
Okay, I'll explain it to you the best I can. All right. So you mentioned Pete Hegseth, who is the head of the Department of War, former Department of Defense, whatever the fuck, right? So there are 300 million white people, 300 million people in the United States, right? Most of them, I think like 50, 60% of them are white, right? So what happens is y'all take a few individuals who have, who have been fortunate, and then these people represent the majority, and that's not the case, right? You can tell, right? And I'm gonna be honest with you, right? This is something my girlfriend used to have, because she grew up in a relatively affluent area, right? She grew up in a place where most of the, there were white people owned houses and had nice cars, and she thought that, hey, this is what white people had. But then she moved to the South and she saw the trailer parks and the people missing feet from diabetes and the teeth and the homelessness and everything else like that. And in her mind, she had never seen poor white people. I say all that to say the majority of the Euro-American population of the United States is not Pete Hegseth. They are not world conquerors, right? They are not living great because of the financial policies of the United States, right? And this is a study that was done. Literally, over half of the people in this country cannot come up with $400 in an emergency. 60 to 70% of the population lives from paycheck to paycheck. This has not changed since Trump has been president. In fact, it's gotten worse. It's gotten worse, right? People are literally opening lines. Hold on. They're opening lines of credit to afford groceries. So yeah, you may have a Pete Hegseth here and there, right? You may have a few ICE agents, but even ICE, they can't even keep up with the recruitment. You know why? Because they were promised $50,000 bonuses, and Trump ain't paid them out.
But outlaw.
He hasn't even paid them out.
You can't.
So the white people, again, they have whiteness because it makes them feel good. Because if they didn't have that, they would be able to look at their situation and say, you know what? We're fucked up. So,
but bossy, go on and have a strong argument. You can't debate Guana's argument like that.
I literally
feel me? Because what about in 1920s? What about 1940s? What about the 50s? Why are you sticking at Trump time? You have to put everything in perspective. White privilege means black poor, white rich. It don't matter if you have some white poor, but the main thing is white rich. All of the bills you pay, none of it is paid to Negroes. You feel me? All of it is paid to your former slave master. It just means that in America, we the black people, our black people, never overthrowed anything. It didn't happen. So what happened now is they have all the privileges of listen, it don't matter if it's politics, even today. White people have everything. They own all the land, they own all most of the businesses, they get all the privileges of getting employment everywhere in their sectors. So you have to understand these things. I don't believe that whatever they're doing is not working for them. It
Well, I would say
definitely
this.
is working for them.
I would say I can. I think that I want to look at it. I want to go a little bit deeper than what you're saying. Um, to your point, I don't believe in white privilege. First of all, I believe in white pathology, because the ability to all of the Europeans,
How
so-called.
can you say that, my
Hold on,
brother?
hold on, let me
How
finish.
can
Let me
you
finish.
say that?
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this because all of the Europeans' privileges that you speak is literally created on the bodies and the blood of other people, right? So this is not a
Yeah.
privilege. This is a pathology. If I were to break
No,
into
all right.
your, hold on, let me give
Wait.
you a scenario. If I was to break into your house right now, kill you, and steal your TV, would you say I'm privileged, or would it be pathological? That I'm a
All right.
murderer.
All right. 1 second. Hold on. 1 second. You feel me? Maybe you put it too basic. You feel me? Um, they have revolutionized the way we think in terms of they have Christianized us. The Arab have Islamized us. So how we think now is white propaganda or Arab propaganda. So what? So when you see white people all share some money with each other, that's fine. And yes, that is pathological, but it's still them giving privilege to each other. But where the hiccup is for us is because of the mental transformation that we get, we also give white people white privilege. So I have no problem with white people giving their own self privilege, like Guana said. You feel me? That don't matter to me. You feel me? My problem is that we in Africa and the Caribbean and even Black America are so tortured and confused and epigenetically um 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 what you'd call white loving. You feel me? We have this epigenetical white loving in us where Christianity, the structure of Christianity says, praise that white man. You see, that white man, praise him. And then you have somewhere in your heart where you put the best people, and there is where nobody told you to do it, but there is where you put that white man. You feel me? And you black. You feel me? So what happened now is psychologically, we all giving the white man, white privilege. Uh, example, right? Example, the Russian guy. Another example, you never see none of them on nooses in Africa. So what that is showing you, no African is mad at what they did to us, their brothers. You feel me? So that's what Christianity does. It soften you up to white people and harden you up to black people. It makes you eradicate the thought of putting black people in royal standards in terms of, oh, I think black people is royal. Black people don't think that way, or the Christian black people don't think that way. The Christian black people think that black people is deserving of begging. You're supposed to beg. I'm telling you about black Christians. That's how black Christians think. Maybe not of their own self and their family, but that's how they think of their neighbors. That's why they don't make their neighbors get rich. They don't give black privilege. You feel me? They give white privilege. In Africa, all around, they give white privilege. Kenyans, they don't give black privilege. They're not taught to, they don't even know what that is. They have to learn that. You feel me? To give white privilege, because to give black privilege, because they traditionally give white privilege. So they even think that they are right and that's the right way to go. And they don't think you have to maybe tell them and show them how evil that is. You understand what I'm saying? And that's how our people is tormented. And that's the problem we have. That's the main problem we have. We have partners of white people, and that is a problem. Thank you again.
Let's go back to Jacadero, who got cut off earlier. Jacadero, finish your thoughts for us, please.
All right. Ooh, there's a lot here. All right. So the definition of epigenetics, right? It's basically the study of how your behavior and environment is caused or has been affected based on. So wait, it's how your genes. Let me get this right. It's how your genes are affected by your environment, like, or your past. So, like, she's asking, is there an underlying change into the DNA of black people versus white people? And she's referencing American enslavement or North American enslavement and why black people are the way that they are versus why Wazungu are the way that they are. She knows the answer. She can say all she has about being parts of this, parts of that, but she knows. If she comes to my village, she knows exactly what she is because the children in my village will tell her. All right, I say all that to say it doesn't matter. Just stay out the way. Just stay out the way. Ibrahim Traore, Abdul Rahman Tashiani, and Asimu Guetta, we're coming. And we're taking everything. We're coming for all that. We're going to need that. We're going to need that. The Sahel countries, we gonna need that. We gonna need all of that. So stay out the way. I think she said she's part German. Yeah. Stay out the way. France is about to be bankrupt because Niger took back its uranium deposits. Huh? We gonna need all that. So all this epigenetics and all these fancy English words, don't worry about that. We coming for all that. All that. That's it.
Appreciate that, Jacadero. Shout out to the chat, too. The chat has been having between Sister Cheryl and Trigger and Brother Bakari, they've been having a good little conversation here. And shout out to the matron, who's also in the chat as well. She says, I think he's trying to explain, I think she means Icon, trying to explain anti-blackness versus us actually bestowing privilege on whites. Good conversation in the chat. You guys keep it going. I'll read it. As many comments as I can on air. If there's no last thoughts, let's go Shoot the Breeze topic number 3 tonight, for time's sake. Shoot the Breeze topic.
To the matron.
Shoot the Breeze topic number 3 says, why does it matter who makes more money? Why does it matter who makes more money? Let me see if this is going to share. Looks like it's all good for now. We'll watch the video and then we'll discuss it. What's going
on? America, the black woman out-earns your mate. What power do we have over you?
Now, the second reason why a lot of women are single It's because we are making more money.
I'll raise a topic. Go on. Yeah. Black women making more than black men.
More black women are graduating from colleges, which in turn will mean that of course, there's black men that are doing well. But if you have more black women graduating from college, more likely more black women might do more than financially better than black men.
Black women are excelling. They're getting accelerated degrees, graduate degrees, doctorate degrees. They're starting businesses. Black women are running circles around men. If black women are excelling at such an accelerated rate, how do men keep up with that?
Our society right now, black women are making a lot more money for the most part than black men, right? There are a lot of black men who are successful, but for the most part, black women are making the money.
And they also can't compete in their households because even though currently they are making more than black women, not enough to be considered. The gap in income between a black woman and a black man isn't enough for him to get the label of primary breadwinner. And he also feels like he can't sustain his household because even though he might be making more than his wife, the gap isn't big enough for him to say, I am the primary breadwinner for my family.
So estimated median weekly earnings for black men for the first quarter, it was $1,017. And in the second quarter, it was $1,053. We showed our ass. And then in the third quarter, very well in the fourth quarter, we earned $1,054 for the week for the fourth quarter estimates. And remember, this is the October data missing because of the government shutdown. And I actually put a note right here that's explaining that. So black men, again, we earned $54,028 for the whole year. Shout out to y'all, man. And then so for black women, for the first quarter, black women started off very strong, $984. And then for the second quarter, don't mind the blocks. They was kind of off when I was generating this. $942, okay? And then you see right here between the second and third quarter, that's where the government shut down and also black women lost all those jobs, about 300,000 jobs. That's where that started to hit. So $942 in the second quarter, and then it continued to decrease in the third quarter, $927, and then for the fourth quarter, estimated $915. That is important, okay? Black women, be mindful. And black women earn $48,984 annually. So with those setbacks, and I want to say this, I was expecting black women to eclipse the $50,000 mark this year, but with the jobs lost and the government shutdown, it affected black women significantly. Again, I know how prideful black women are because the first time y'all heard that black women lost 300,000 jobs, there was a narrative floating around social media of black women saying, well, that's because those black women removed themselves from the workforce and became entrepreneurs. Every black woman kept saying the reason why black women's unemployment rate dropped is because all of those black women left the workforce and became entrepreneurs. That wasn't true. And that's just that pride speaking. I get it. You feel like you can do it alone. You go at it alone. You don't need any help. I don't need a man. I understand the narratives. I'm not going to argue with you, but I will show you the statistics. So if you feel it's necessary that you need to do something about this, if the black women who care about your fellow sisters, if you guys want to discuss this amongst yourselves, I would do so. Because I know sometimes you shun black men when they try and help. And I'm probably one of them. But if y'all want to discuss this, let me know. And I'll put together some so we can go into detail. This is for 2024. And I wanted to show black women that you guys actually do sit closer to black men in regards to earnings ratios, because you guys are number one in regards to being close to your male counterparts. And this was for 2024. So these are the women's to men weekly, median weekly earnings ratios for 2025. So again, black women to black men, 90.7 is slightly dipped in the fourth quarter for black men and black women, but it's 90.7%. Remember in 2024, at the end of the year, black women and black men were number one. Now we're number two, okay? And that's because black men have increased their earnings. So Hispanic women to Hispanic men, they earn 94% of the Hispanic men's dollar. Black women earn 91% to black men's dollar. And that puts us in number 2 for the year. White women to white men, 82%. And then Asian women to Asian men, 78%. So it dropped the percentage, which dropped us down to number 2. And Hispanic women actually increased their earnings a significant amount. So they got a little bit closer to Hispanic men at 94%. Despite starting the year strong, Black women's weekly earnings dropped sharply second, third, and fourth quarter. If you guys remember my last live stream that I did with the update of the third quarter, I mentioned this to Black women. We need to be mindful of this, because if we had another quarter where Black women's earnings decrease, then that will be a huge problem. You remember people talking about 2053, where the Black community is going to be, poor. We're not going to have any money. If this continues to happen, Black women, as predicted, will hit that mark faster than any racial group, to include Black men. Between 1983 and 2016, Black family wealth fell by more than 50%, while white wealth rose by 33%. By 2016, nearly 37% of Black families had zero or negative net worth. That is not a disparity, that is economic apartheid. But that's not even scratching the surface of what's going on in our own community. The divide is sharp. Single Black men hold a median wealth of about $10,100, while single Black women just $1,700. This means that while the road to zero wealth predicts collapse for households overall, Black women, especially single Black women, will feel it first, because Black men's earnings are increasing. This is the third quarter in a row that Black women's earnings have decreased. That's a problem. And I'm not telling Black women to try and make peace with Black men or anything like that. All I'm saying is you guys need to be mindful. If you want me to develop some solutions for you, I can, but you guys have to be willing to listen. Of course, I already figured this stuff out because I care about the Black community. I mean, if y'all ain't noticed that, that's why I'm doing this. So second, third, and fourth quarter, Black women's earnings decrease. Black women are very prideful, man, and they don't want to, admit that they may need some help. But this is cause for concern, in my opinion.
Black women.
Interesting conversation there. In the chat, the matron says, don't we think it is a tactic of quote unquote white supremacy to educate her and incarcerate him and pay him less than her during the childbearing years? Women think they can make it without a man, but the wall is undefeated. I like that. Shout out to the matron. Make sure you guys subscribe to her channel and support her on her weekly readings. Let's mix it up. Let me start off with I Can Fire this time. I Can Fire, what say you to this?
Wicked. Thank you, host. I don't see why we have to be divided and our wealth have to be divided and counted. I see Black women falling in a trap in terms of they don't understand who is teaching them to just say Black woman. It's like, why are we just Black men and Black women? Why aren't we just Black people? And why don't we deal with ourselves as Black people? Why? How the separation gonna go? If you mean, how does the Black woman is supposed to be richer than the Black man? And also vice versa. Is it even possible for the Black man to be rich and the Black woman not rich? It's like the ludicrousy, if you may, for us to even think that way. And it's sad to say Black women are promoting it the most by in their psyche. A lot of time they don't think of the future effects of certain actions. It's like this. So I see a conspiracy going on, and I see black women involved in the conspiracy. Why today in America and the Caribbean, why are there less boys going to college? You feel me? Someone is targeting the boys. Why haven't the boys why didn't the boys learn to dedicate themselves to books and to learning projects? Why is the boy so loose? When he was a baby, did he have charge? Was he in charge of himself? You feel me? Who is doing this to the boy where he is not? The population is not as equal to the girls in college. You feel me? And whose hands is he in? Why are say the ones that don't learn properly and all that, right? Who is stopping him from learning trades when he 15, 16, 17, 18, 19? Who is it? Is somebody supposed to be responsible to make that boy a competitive in adult? You feel me? So I'm trying to figure out if there is a conspiracy going on where someone is not paying the boy the attention that he needs to qualify him in this technological and financially rigorous world. You see me? And what I would say is raising the boy with unique skills and the other ones with appropriate education in terms of college and stem cells and mathematics and all that. That would make us a very efficient community. You feel me? So there is my problem where the stagger is going on, where someone is making us dysfunctional. That's my I ain't saying nothing about nobody. So nobody has nothing to be mad about. Use your brain. All right. It's sharp. I'll keep it sharp.
Yes,
Quick.
sir. Yes, sir. I appreciate
Host.
again. It's Koku, but yeah. Thank you for that. Jacadera, what say you?
I think you gotta change your name, man. Goku, I think you gotta change your name, bro.
Hey, sorry. No, it's a good African name, man.
All right. Hey. Let me focus here. All right. So why does it matter who makes more money? Well, let's talk about it. Here in the United States, there's always the conversation. There was a black candidate, I believe, out of New York City. Koku, I believe you're around the New York area. You don't have to tell us, but he ran on the campaign that the rent is too damn high. Do you guys know that all these things come back to your guys' taxes? If you live in the United States, all these things come back to your guys' taxes. Whether or not you guys believe in the current administration, last administration, the administration before that, and before that, all these things come back to your taxes. We are taxed, whether you believe it or not, really high in the United States. Really high. You know, places like California, I think it's upwards of like 30 plus percent. 30 plus percent state income tax. This is insane. This is a lot. So why does it matter who makes more money? In the United States, at least where I live at, it's relative because that can decide on what can happen, right? Power dynamics in the United States are shaped almost by finances. And so when who makes more money conversation comes into play, it can decide on how things are in the home. And unfortunately, we have power dynamics that are shaped by these finances. So what happens is, in turn, it can shape on how people treat you. You know, in the United States, again, I live here, so I can speak on this. The conversation after you say your name and where you live at, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? People don't even ask, like, how are you? How's your week been? How's your mood been lately? No. They ask, how are you? Or, I'm sorry, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? They're not asking like what your gym routine is, what your diet is. That's not what they're asking. They're asking, what do you do during the day? When kids are at school, when people are stealing, what do you do? They're wondering, what do you do? Especially for a boss, for a supervisor. What do you do? So, why does it matter who makes more money? Because it matters. It matters. It's relative. Money is relative. And we're taxed high. If you're living in those states that don't have state income tax, good for you. For those that live in states that have income tax, hey, get yourself a second. Get yourself a second hustle. You know, I would say second job, but I'm against those things. You know, I'm speaking on behalf of the Empowerment Network. We discourage people from having jobs. You know, on the bottom of your screen, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the Empowerment Network, empoweromaha.com. We discourage people from having that. Anyways, back to this. Why does it matter who makes more money? If you are a black man that's listening right now, let me tell you something. You are in the era of social media. And again, hopefully you're not talking to women that pay heavy attention to social media, but let's be honest. You know, it's everywhere, okay? So the internet and real life are intertwined, and they're becoming more and more intertwined as time goes. As AI comes more and more into the picture, it's becoming more and more intertwined. So you're probably gonna meet a woman, and she's gonna be asking those same questions that you're getting asked at networking events. What do you do? And when it's verified, and when it's solidified that you don't do enough, huh? You don't your pockets, your pocket, you are not oga, just know that you're not chopping the money, just know that she's going to leave you. Yes. You see the way that Bam Adebayo scored 83 points, and his girl was there because he's making the money. And everybody knows NBA players make way more than WNBA players, so that's why she's there. But do you think if the NBA was making less than WNBA, that she would be expecting that Yoruba man to chopping the money? And no, you cannot chop the money, you cannot chop the money. So again, we're in the United States. This is relative. Again, this is stuff that I've seen. And I'm on behalf of the Empowerment Network. We see bank accounts. Well, we don't see bank accounts, but we definitely talk finances a lot. We take surveys. So why does it matter who makes more money? If you're a man, you know why this matters. You know why this matters. Again, do you have to be buku rich? No, not necessarily. But you need to get on your job, though. When I say your job, not their job, whatever your hustle is, even if you cut hair, even if you detail vehicles, and detailing vehicles, listen, let me tell you something. Hey, if I've never talked about money ever on this show before, let me tell you something. If you don't have anything going on, but you are a clean man, and I'm talking to the men here, the young men, and you like clean spaces, go out and buy cleaning equipment and just start cleaning cars and be a car detailer, because then you can be mobile. Or you can have the cars come to you, and then you take those cars and then just go to the car wash, vacuum, do all the stuff, and the rest of the stuff that you can't do at the car wash, bring it back to your house, huh? And then, boom, you don't have to work for anybody, and you can make some good money. You make some good money. Charge at least $70 a car, $70 a car. Man, you can go home with $300 a night if you're lazy. That's if you're lazy. 5 cars a night, 5 days a week. You do the math. Anyways, why does it matter who makes more money? Cause man, money talk. Hey, money not a thing. Money not a thing. Money not a thing. They say in Nigeria, Naija know the carry last. Let me tell you something. A rich man know the carry last. Huh?
Appreciate that, Jack. Let's have from Buana next. Buana, what's it?
Yeah, first let me say that I am not in a competition with my woman. I am not. This for me, this conversation is more along the lines of like more lines like integrationist kind of conversation. I'm not in a competition with my woman because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much money you make. It's what you do with the money that you make. Because some people could make $1 million a year and still be broke. Don't you know people living in mansions with empty refrigerators? because they take the money and instead of doing the right things with it, they use it on spending consumption. It's nonsense. You know, so it doesn't matter how much money you make. Is how much money you keep and what you do with the money. So that's a whole nother matter. Another thing too is I know this is more of a young person conversation because when you get into adult conversations, you understand that there are different dynamics to the money that you're earning. There, a woman who makes a lot of money, she's not going to tell you about the college debt that she ensued in getting a so-called education to work in corporate wherever. She has a lot of debt she has to pay back to the U.S. government. So that's going to take a substantial amount of money from the money that she's earning. Then if she have children, she has to deal with that. Then if she have elderly parents, she has to use her money to deal with that. Then if she have illnesses, the young people don't know one day you will get sick. God forbid if you have sick relatives that you have to take care of and provide for, let alone you sick yourself. These things eat off into your money too. So you could be making a whole lot of money and still be broke at the end of the year. You know, and the young people don't consider these things because they think that they're gonna live forever. So it's not wise to put so much, and I understand Jacadero say living in America, but it's not wise to put the importance of a human being based on their net worth alone, because that don't always help you. That don't always help you. If the character of the man is poor, if the man has beat you, I know many judges female judges who get beat up by their partners. They get beat right up by their partners, and they making a whole lot of money, and they so-called in empowered positions. Is that worth it? Who knows? These questions don't be teased out in terms of the competition between the black man and the black woman. And I could never be in a competition with no black woman. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, either I am I feel because I grew up in an old school house that I supposed to be the leader of the situation. You know what I mean? If the woman want to run her roost, let her run her roost with a man who gonna permit that and allow that to happen. But for me, I feel like it worked better with me being in certain positions of responsibility. I have no problem with that. I'm not gonna be in a competition at the end of the day. When I come home, I want to be in a peaceful situation rather than getting beat over the head by any kind of battle axe. Now, if some women want to be the boss hog or whatever, where the man sit in the corner and not say nothing, wonderful for them. You know, I'm not gonna beat up on. You got to do it what works in terms of relationships. You know, but for me, who makes more money? If for me, at the end of the day, is what you are actually doing with the money that you are actually making, and whether you are making wise decisions or stupid decisions, So a man who may be earning less, may be uh, making wiser decisions in the long term that at the end of the day, he gonna fare financially better than the woman who's making more initially because she is ridiculous with her money. It just depends. But this whole push and pull between the black man and the black woman, for me, this is a non sequitur. It's a non-starter. I am not fighting with no woman for nothing. I'm not gonna do that. You know, that, to me, that's a little bit effeminate. Either I could be a man who want to be in my home, or I ain't gonna be nothing. It is all, and there are millions and millions of black women in the world who could get with that program, and there are other women who cannot. And ultimately, you have to decide on which part of the fence you want to be on. I like peace. I like my own personality. I like women who could function and flow with that. For some women who can't, then I could respect you and you could do your thing. You know, so it ain't no fight with me here at all. I'll leave it there, Coco.
I appreciate what you said there, Buana. I do. And Brother Bakari, I think, supports that. I'll show his comments from the chat in a second. But one thing I will say, we can have this discussion at more length in the future. I think one of our big problems is that we have too many men who are okay with sitting in the corner. It's known that the black community, wherever we are, is a matriarchy. And I'm going to say something that a lot of people ain't going to like, but we got to get out that matriarchy.
Woo! Let's go! Woo!
Yeah, we got to get out of that.
Coco. The unfortunate thing for me, and I can't speak for no other brothers, that has never been my experience. The only situation I have ever seen in terms of functionality and man-woman relationship, I have not grown up in a matriarchy. I grew up in a different scenario. So I don't understand that reality. You know, I do not understand. So maybe some women won't get along with me because of that. Because that's never been my reality. Yes, sir.
Guana, I beg to differ because I'm sure you live in this world. Now, let me just give you evidence. You feel me? One time, woman was not permitted, or woman was even dignified enough to not wear pants. But women wear pants now, right? Of course, they were intimidated into wearing wigs. But in a black community like Bahamas or Jamaica, actually, it is black people who intimidated, and a lot of women also intimidated others to wear wigs. So, but what I'm trying to say to you is, as long as these things going on and men cannot say anything about it, that's matriarchal. Sorry,
let me think
sir.
about that one. Let me think about that one. Icon. Let me think about it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sorry, I had stepped away. I thought y'all were going to go back and forth for a second. Yeah, my point, let me just finish that point I was making, is this matriarchy that we're under, it tends to, in my opinion, my humble opinion, it makes a lot of men docile. The reason why you see, let's take, for instance, Umar Johnson, who, because I'm using him because he's a public figure we're all familiar with. The reason why you'll never see him really criticize black women is because that's who suckles him. That's who financially underpins him. We are in a situation, if we want men to be men and men to do the work of changing our circumstances overall, we got to get off this mentality of we'll gladly lay up under a woman, watch General Hospital in the evening because that's her show. She like her show. While we waiting for a plate of food to fill our bellies so we can have sex for half the night because we ain't doing shit all day. We got to get off of that now. This matriarchy, let me tell you something. You look at the history of the world, matriarchies don't trump patriarchies. Patriarchies are attached to militarianism. We need to tap that fucking vein on the inside of our elbow. We need to inject ourselves with a little bit more patriarchy. I'm not talking about the bad parts, the exploitative parts. But I'm talking about the parts where, you know what, I run the show here, and I don't mean this in some misogynistic or whatever you guys call it. I don't mean it in that way. I mean it in the sense of let me get up.
Masculinity.
Yeah, masculinity. Let me get up. Let me protect my woman. Let me build the infrastructure that will give us the best life together. We got to stop this shit. I understand this is not an attack against Buana. I understand Buana's just laying out the field, right? But we got to start encouraging this idea of, guy, get your ass up and go be productive during the day. Get from underneath these women, because here's the other part of it, and I'll end here. Here's the other part of it, and I'll end here. Every other week, you guys tell me when we see women acting badly, like with the Russian guy in Africa, you'll tell me, well, women are hypergamous. They're gonna go with the man with the most resources. Well, why would we want that to be our leadership?
Ooh.
Why would we want that to be our? What is this? What are we gonna? What are the women gonna teach our children? We gotta get from underneath it. We gotta tap that vein, like I said. I know a lot of y'all don't like that term patriarchy. I see some people talking about it now in the chat. Tap that motherfucking vein and inject yourself with some fucking manliness, that you're in charge and that you're gonna go change this situation, man. Sister Cheryl has joined us. Sister Cheryl, what say you to what you've heard?
Oh man, it's a lot. You know, I feel like it's a lot of different ways you can tackle this. Um, I tend to lean more towards what Buana was saying in terms of um not being in competition with with women. Like men should not be being in competition with women. That shouldn't be the dynamic. That's not the dynamic in any other group of people but us, because it's profitable. So, and I think he was responding to the video, because in the video, black women are like, you know, oh, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I'm this, I'm that, I make this much money. So, what they're essentially saying without actually saying it is that I need a man that's going to make as much money as me or more. That's the general consensus with women who are making big money like that. That's the general consensus. I'm not saying that there could be some women out there that who are lawyers, who are doctors, and doing all this stuff, making a lot of money, and they don't mind a man who makes, let's say she makes 100,000 and he makes, I don't know, 60,000. I'm sure there are some out there that are like that, but the vast majority of them, if you go to talk to a black female lawyer, a black female doctor, or physician, or something like that, they always talking about what? The patriarchy. Oh, the men and da, da, da. Because look at where they work. They work in, especially if you work in corporate law, things like this. But the problem with that, when they're talking about the patriarchy, they're talking about another culture's patriarchy. They're talking about white patriarchy. And they get into sounding like white women, and I feel like I honestly I see more black women competing with black men, not black men competing with black women. Like I see that more often. I see that more often. Like black men don't really like you might get a couple that, you know, I want my woman to be making this much money, but that's not the majority of them. The majority of them are women talking about, oh, you know, I need my man to make as much as me, or otherwise I can't respect him, and it's just an imbalance. It's not an imbalance, because if you make 100,000, and if you're grossing 100,000 and he grossing 60,000, that's 160,000 that you're grossing together. That's simple math. Just simple. It's that simple. But they'd rather. I see a lot of white feminism um, uh, eroding the minds of black women to the point that black women don't even want to be with a black man anymore. They'd rather be a lesbian. And it's the truth. They either going to be a lesbian or they're going to be with a white man or a non-black man. That's the majority of them, the vast majority of them. Now,
Michelle,
and
go ahead. Sorry.
go
Sorry.
ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So I love what you're saying because sometimes it would seem like us as black men is hating on our women. But we actually have a movement going on in terms of we need to think that we are not liberated and we need to liberate ourselves and we need serious people and we need to raise serious people. And these are the problem with our black women. And as Guana said, he not gonna compete with the black woman, but that's not the problem. The problem is the black woman is competing with us. And for what I don't know. And
Oh,
I don't
so
like the idea of go ahead.
I think you gotta be like you gotta understand like they're black women are competing more with black men than black men are competing with them. But it's only
Yeah.
because they're being given there it's only because they're being given a platform to. And I don't think black men are like trying to compete with black women. I think a lot of the times they may feel less of a man or emasculated because of
Miss
what white society tells them. But that's all the more reason why we need more black women to just be like, it's okay if you make a little less. I mean, it's nothing. To me, it's nothing wrong with that. You can still have a
but Miss
functioning
Carol,
family.
Miss Carol, now do you understand the implications of this now right there? You feel me?
I mean, there's no
If there is
implications.
a
That's the reality, baby. That's the reality.
no, yes, yes, sweetie, I'm on your side. I'm saying the implication of these things are if there's a rift between us, the black men and the black woman, and she is in a realm of say competition, right? So and if it's say okay, the black woman want to do better than the black man, then in essence, would she raise appropriate black men who, if raised appropriate, would practically surpass her in wealth. So therefore, the when you see less black men college entry and all that, then wouldn't it be suspicious on the black woman to say that she is underdeveloping or stunting the boys on purpose,
No, 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 because
psychologically?
the goal is not to I mean, if that's what you want to do, if that's as a black woman build a black man up to be higher than you, okay, but that shouldn't be the goal of us as people. The goal of us as people should be to be a community. And
No,
these
it's
black
not
women,
say no, 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 no. It's not
I don't know
like,
what you're trying
oh,
to say, brother.
she's trying. Just hold on for a minute, right? It's not say, okay, she's trying to make the black man higher than the black woman. What I'm trying to say is, if we were, if we were raised appropriately, then he would be a provider for his family, and he would fall in a lot of positions where he would be adequate in. Therefore, more
No,
adequate black men, you'd have more adequate, because what's happening is inadequacy, where you have a lot of us at school to prison pipeline and also the corner boy. You feel me? These
no, I
are
don't feel you.
inadequacy
I
in,
don't. I don't feel you because
but
there are situations where this corner boy, I don't know what you're talking about, but this corner boy stuff that you're talking about, and black men that are not raised appropriately, whatever appropriately is. I've known many a black men who have come out of the ghetto and they've done well. but that's not the point. The point is that there's a system in place that's keeping them that way. So when you say raised appropriately, I'm struggling with what appropriate is. Like if they were raised appropriately,
I
then they would
mean,
get better jobs. I don't think
listen,
so. I don't think so.
listen. Hold on. Appropriately means, well, if we're black, then that means we should be raised under Pan-Africanism and black consciousness, but not that alone. Okay, if outside of that, you should raise lawyers and doctors, engineers and mechanics and these tradesmen if he's not efficient in
Can I interject?
education.
You kind of
I feel like
monopolizing the
we're not,
conversation, brother.
we're
Hold
kind
on,
of
time
not
out.
getting to the
Somebody else
point.
speak.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Sean. I didn't mean to cut you guys off.
No,
Y'all
you're
was just
good. You're
having,
good. You're
y'all was
fine.
just having,
I'm confused. I'm a little confused.
let me first of all, sure, I appreciate you. I know we
Yes.
don't always agree on eye to eye on everything, but I think you really touched on the heart of what I was trying to hit on this post, because in the very beginning of the video, you have all these women who are bragging about how much more money that they make than black men. Black women
Right.
make so much, they have all these degrees and everything else like that. And this is the reason that black men and black women are not compatible. Black women are going to school with coming out more degrees, and they have more education, they're making more money, and this is why black women find it so difficult to be partnered in relationships, right? But
Yeah.
to your point, to like, and what the man was saying, from looking at the numbers, that's not even true. Even though women do have more education than black men, they don't necessarily make more money. But to the point, every woman of every race goes to college more than their male counterparts. That is not a black thing. That is something that is the same across all racial groups. Women
Right.
do go be more educated than the men, but the men tend to earn more. Black men do earn more than black women, but there's not a big enough gap, right? So when these women are creating in this situation, they have adopted a capitalist mindset, right? And to the where your value is inherent to how much money that you make. Is a quote I like from Karl Marx. He says that money degrades all the gods of man, and it basically says that everything that human beings have, from like our interpersonal relationships, our the things that you would say money can't buy. Once you put a price tag on them, you automatically devalue it, right? And now you're looking at things from a strictly, how does this benefit me financially? And I think as black people, because we are in such a precarious situation in not just the United States, but in the whole world economically, when you look at each other through that type of lens, right? When you devalue each other based on how much money you make, it furthers the divide between us, right? And at a time when we should be seeking more unity, like you were saying, if you make 60,000 and she makes 100,000, that means y'all have 160,000. But these women are like, no, I got to make somebody who makes 200,000, and they would go home and find somebody who maybe makes less than them, but who loves them and contributes to the household, and they can both build each other up. And I think this mentality is keeping a lot of people not just single, it was also lonely, and it leads to a situation where at the end of the day we have nothing. And to Ivan's point, it may be a conspiracy, it may be some sinister hand behind it, but I also think it is just more of a what happens when you live in a white supremacist capitalist society. I'll stop there. Thank you.
I just want to give a gentle reminder that.
Can I speak? Oh, God, my bad.
Two things. A general reminder, and then we'll go to Baruch Bakari. One of the things you'll notice, or you might not even notice it in the chat or listening to the playback, but the people who are regularly on the panel, we tend to know each other. This is why if you guys look at the back chat, the private chat up here for the panelists, you'll see Buana's cracking certain jokes with Jacadero's returning, Black Steel, Everyone knows what he does for a living, Sister Cheryl, etc. So when you start to come around here, I need you to start to know people's names, proper names, not what you decide in your head, and start to what's the term I'm trying to find? Is a church term. Start to
acquaint
yourself with the folks. You understand? There's nothing more off-putting than a guy coming on and can't pronounce your name week after week after week, month after month.
It's Quaker. It's Quaker.
It's Koku. And yeah,
it's Koku.
Yes, sir.
Man,
Yes,
sorry, man.
Yes.
Sorry, man.
It's Sister Cheryl. It's Buana, not Guana. It's Buana. It's
Sister Cheryl, Guana, Jacadero, and Brother Bakari.
Brother Bakari and Black Steel. Yes, sir. So that's
Black Steel.
The other thing.
No, I think is sometimes, boss man.
I'm still talking. There's another part of the problem. You got to stop cutting people off. And I don't like having to address you directly every week, but I have to. You have to stop cutting people off. The next thing I was going to say is, if you go on a tangent, tangents are fine. Sometimes we find some interesting conversations in tangent, but always try to bring the tangent back to what the prompt is, so that we don't run out and exhaust the conversation on other things that's not to the point of the prompt. All right. I'm going to come back to you in a second. Let me hear from Brother Bakari on this prompt. Why does it matter who makes more money? First of all, how are you, Brother Bakari?
Man, I'm absolutely magnificent. How are you, my good brother Koku? And everybody on the panel and everybody in the chat. What's up, Cheryl? First of all, to me, it don't matter who make the most money, man. Look, I'm a man. I don't give a damn who make the most money. And if I meet a woman, have I ever met a woman that asked me how much money I make? Yep, you need to make 200,000. I didn't get mad. I was like, shit, do you make 200,000? And she didn't want to answer the question. So I was like, there's no need for me and you to talk no more. I've said it several times on here. My late wife, my kid's mother, excuse me, double the amount of money I make. I was the man regardless. And not only her, like, she was an auditor for the SEC. Go there. All them black women, most of their husbands made less money than them. Because they made a lot of money. But so it doesn't matter who make the most money. You're supposed to be the man. You're supposed to be the man regardless. What I hear about in these conversations, because like I wasn't gonna come on to Koku Spoon, because I won't, because for me it's like I'm tired of seeing black men try to go at black women. Like I would never say nothing to Cheryl. Cheryl is a woman, so she want to straighten out the women. That's who's gonna do it. Black men ain't gonna do it. But something Koku said we got to stop being sitting in the house. That ain't the black woman's fault. That is not the black woman's fault. That if you done met a young black man or whoever he is sitting in the house, he lazy. It might be her fault for supporting him, but it ain't her fault that he's lazy. See, the problem is people sit and say, I don't believe in white supremacy. They believe they're supreme. I don't believe they're supreme. But for the sake of this conversation, I'm gonna say white supremacy. What we doing, we're victim blaming. These people created a system. And they did everything they do. So we are suffering from the residual effects of slavery, where the black woman had to protect the child, where the black woman had to do whatever. They created a system. So now what we're doing, those women will point fingers, black men will point fingers. But we don't never want to point fingers and go at the people that did it to you. So I ain't gonna argue with no black woman. Like, if she just, like I said, I done met women who say that. You just move on. Shit. I got a good woman now. She's a therapist. my late, like I said, my ex-wife. Dude, I don't worry about that because I'm the man regardless. I did black lawyers. Black lawyers went out with black doctors. It doesn't make a difference because when they see me and when they talk to me, they talking to a man. But then you're going to see some that going to say, I don't make enough money. Cool. Okay. Do they ask me what I do for a living? It's not the first thing they ask me. Maybe it could be because of my headset. Most people know what I do because of my headset. When people see my headset, you're a truck driver. So they already know because of my headset. So they don't ask me that. But if somebody asks me what I do for a living, I ain't gonna get mad. I'm like, what do you do for a living? It's just that simple. I'm not gonna let simple stuff make me mad with my women. With all this stuff these white folk and everybody else have done to us, they can beat you, shoot you, kill you, do all of that. We don't want to go at them. But little simple things like, hey, what you do? And that's a problem. Oh, there ain't no problem for me. It's really not. It's not a problem for me because you make more money. It's really not. Because if we talking about coming together, you can't come together and talking about building nothing if the man and woman ain't together. And if we gonna follow all of these damn social media things constantly talking about black man and black woman, who make the most money, and I'm comparing to who make the most money, we ain't gonna ever, there's no sense of talking about no unity and coming together because we are following people who's getting paid to keep you divided. Because we want to listen to them. He gonna prove who makes the most money. Okay, now that you proved who make the most money, now what? They done proved that black men make the most money. Now what, black men, they done proved you make the most money. Still no solution. Still ain't together. Because we can't control our woman, because we can't control our woman, because the same man y'all talking about our women look up to, that white man, is the same man black men look up to, that white man, and you scared to check them, and they've been punking us. All these damn years, they done bluff you, make you think they own everything. That's why y'all call them supreme. So why in the hell, I ain't gonna keep fighting my woman about no stuff like this. I'm not. If they ain't with me, they ain't with me. We just move on from them. How about let's highlight the ones like Cheryl that's with us? She with her black man. How about let's start highlighting them? The ones that's not with us, they shouldn't be highlighted. Forget about it. The people like the Candace Owens and the Serena Williams and the black girls that going down that road, they shouldn't be highlighted. Forget about it. Let's highlight the ones that with us so we can try to build something and move forward. On that, I yield the mic.
Oh, Bakari. How I miss our disagreements. So we definitely finna have one. How I miss them. So let me just say this. Your ability to create a straw man out of stuff is just unparalleled. First of all, let me say this. No one's angry, right? But you don't solve a problem by sticking your head in the sand and pretending it doesn't exist, right? What we're doing, this video is responding to what the women are saying, right? And I agree with you to your point. We do need to be together. Black people, black men, black women, black children, we need to be together, right? We are under an existential threat to our survival, and we're not going to survive it arguing about small stuff. But however, we cannot solve a problem by pretending it doesn't exist. And a lot of the situations, to what Cheryl was saying, it's not black men who are competing with black women, it's black women competing with black men. And the issue is that they're saying that if you don't make a certain amount of money, I cannot marry you, I cannot be in a relationship with you, I cannot respect you, right? And this is the issue. It's not so much the fact that we want to beat up on the sisters, of course not. But when you have a woman with a mentality like that, and this mentality is spreading, okay, it's not something that is a small group of people who are saying this. This mentality is spreading. There's a lot of talk about the loneliness epidemic, right? And I believe that this mentality is leading to more loneliness. What's the number one cause of divorce? Financial problems. That is the number one reason that relationships end. So I agree, it doesn't really matter to me who makes more money. because in the day, you know, we supposed to be in it for each other. A Black woman's success should not put me down in any type of negative way. But when you have people, Black women, who do believe that if you don't make enough money, or if you don't make more than me, I can't respect you. If you don't make more money than me, I'm gonna insult you. And this is, or if you don't make enough more than me, I can't respect you. Instead of us pooling our resources where each of us has more, they would rather be alone with their money. And I think that mentality is a problem. We have to address it. It is a symptom of white domination and capitalism, which I think that we can never leave out the class element of this conversation as well.
You know,
So
real quick.
once again, like
it is.
I had one thing to say.
Real quick. Let me just say this, just to piggyback off of what Black Seal said. If you're being honest about it, conversations like these, in terms of our relationships and the relationship dynamics, are super important. Now, sometimes it could go off the rails and become that red pill, black pill kind of stuff, but the larger conversation is important. If we're going to talk about unity means family. And we got to get our family dynamics, our men and women and children dynamics, like Black Seal just said. We got to get that together. Bakari, go ahead, and then Buana, and then Cheryl.
Okay, so Black Steel, I heard what you said, and we can say it's important, but I say it's not important. But what I also said is, why we worry about the women that ain't with you? If you got you a good Black woman, and you know Black women like that, I got me a good Black woman, Buana got him a good Black woman. Why aren't those women ever highlighted and talked about? See, because what ended up happening, like the guy who, so then the woman is to blame for, because we let them get away with saying, "Ooh, see, the woman raised the child. Where was the daddy?" Because it come down, so then it just become men versus women. That's the truth. Y'all don't want to tell, right? So for me, like I said, I wouldn't gonna even get in this till I heard Koku say something about we need to be more patriarchal. But that's not, even when you listen to, instead of our historians, that wasn't African culture. That what we always respected our women. Me, what I would say is one of the biggest problem is, and I'm gonna say it again, there's a certain group of people that created this problem that ain't nobody got no damn smoke for, and people like to call them supreme. Me personally, I don't think they're supreme, so I don't use the term. And I know people have their definition, but I have mine, so I don't think they're supreme, so I don't use the term. But don't nobody have smoke for the people that created the problem. We just got smoke for the people who've been put in the position, and that smoke is always us. So if that woman, just like the Black woman that date white men, she ain't with you, why we complaining about it? Eventually, we gonna stop complaining about those people, just like we gonna stop looking and worrying about white folk, and we gonna start building. Or we gonna stay in the spot, listening to people on social media, and ain't none of them building nothing, and we ain't gonna ever build because we too busy responding to those people instead of setting up meetings. When we gonna meet? Instead of going out trying to buy land together so we can try to feed ourselves, so we can do things instead of trying to figure out a way we can protect ourselves. We let people like that guy, whoever he is, I ain't never heard of him, because I don't listen to stuff like that on YouTube. And if I hadn't heard him tonight, I wouldn't have ever heard it. Talking about he can prove the Black man make more money than the single Black woman. Okay, now that you proved it, once again, now what? Because if that woman don't want to be with you and concerned about your money, she ain't gonna be with you. Eventually, we gonna have to say, look, man, we just got to move on from that. I'm just saying, that's been my personality, mindset. Like I said, I've had women ask me, how much money you make? How much money do you make? It's the easy way to get out that conversation. How much money do you make? I ain't complaining about it. I just damn moved on. I'm just saying, I just moved on. But also, you that way more money. It's just simple. For me, it might not be that simple for other people. I don't know. We gonna set up a meeting so we can buy some land and start building and taking care of things. Or are we gonna be consumed by people like this who getting paid from YouTube to keep us going through this and we staying divided? Because this ain't gonna bring no unity, just my opinion.
Juana?
Hey, quick, can I?
For me, for me, this is dating Darwinism. You know, survival of the fittest.
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
so if when you in that situation, when you in this kettle pot, a push and pull between a man and a woman, at the end of the day, as Bakari say, what is the prize for proving you making more money than your man? That he is inadequate. So that means you must be by yourself. You know, some of these women can sit down one day and they can start to think for themselves, and they can say, you know, my granddaddy didn't make $100,000 a year, but he been with my grandmommy for 50 years. What did she do to make up the shortfall of what he wasn't earning in the family? Because they had 10 children, but she wasn't by herself. She died with all her children around her, happy. Now, I'm not saying that you should be happy in poverty. I am saying that in life, you face real life situations. You know what I mean? And it don't always revolve around dead pedophiles and hypocrites on a dollar note, which is what we fighting over. Dead hypocrites and pedophiles on a dollar note. So I'm saying that there is greater issues at hand. And if the ultimate thing is the competition is to win the goal of earning more than your money, rather than earning or trying to outcompete your real enemy, which is not the black woman or the black man. I say I have to tip out of the conversation because black still say that you're sticking your head in the sand. For me, this is not a discussion, because even if you say that you do, I already didn't tell you on the plantation, the goal is as long as you could say you outdoing the other slave, as long as you saying you outbesting the other slave on the plantation, that means you win. This is a slave mentality, completely plantation politics. You know what I mean? The other slave with the other chain on his around his neck, female or male, is not my competitor. That's not the person I'm trying to outdo. Because the prize at the end of that is still more plantation. You know what I mean? The goal is freedom. The goal is freedom. So, like I say, if the sisters want to engage and the brothers want to engage in this debate, it's not for me. It's just not for me. But I'll stop there and let the other brothers go. I won't be brief.
Go ahead, Sister Cheryl.
Yeah, just real quick. So I think conversations like this are very important. And I don't agree with the brother when he says, people are just on social media just trying to make money and that stuff like that. I think we really need to pay attention to what's happening because it's a reflection of the past couple generations, especially what's the generation after millennials? Gen Z. It's very much a reflection of what the women and what they think and how they think. Because if you're I'm only saying this because I've had encounters with women like this, and a lot of them they don't think very highly of black men, period. And I was just thinking, like, why don't they think highly of black men? And a lot of the times it's coming from the institution. And without going into further detail, there's a lot of rhetoric and a lot of teachings, and especially in college, regarding feminism and all the types of things that they're given to read. It always has. It's never based in historical fact. It's always based in one woman's experience in a situation with a man. rather than the experience of a black man and a black woman together in a certain in historically in this country and just in general. They're not given real examples of how black women and black men, fought together and survived and struggled together and still made it, and still survived. They're not given that. They're just given white feminist rhetoric. And I think that's where it comes from. So I don't think we should just dismiss stuff like this because these kids is, whew, man, every generation they got it, but this generation, man, they really, really do not like black men. They don't like their own men, and it's not. I wouldn't even say, oh, I'm not gonna be like, oh, it's the black woman. The only reason I say it like that is because I'm just, I'm just, I'm just responding to what the things that they're saying. But you're gonna get to the root of it is definitely the institutions. And I don't know about high school and middle school, but they definitely getting it in college. That's why college is whew, I want to say it's dangerous. It's dangerous when you're going into the social science departments and you're going into English and all of these departments. Like they are heavy with the feminism, and it affects the black women the most. And it's this is what you get. So
In the chat, the matron says we need each other, and we need to stop buying into narratives that tell us we are not worthy of each other due to a value system that is not inherently African. If there's no last thoughts on this prompt, I want to do something a little different today. I want to ask you guys, was there anything said in previous discussions that you had a thought that you would like to address? Is there anything that was said during the night?
There is actually. What a coincidence. There is actually. Jacadero, you mentioned something about being upset with Netanyahu because of the gas prices increasing. So you're not upset about the 500,000 Palestinians that he murdered, that he's responsible for murdering?
Hey,
that's I don't know. That to me, that's a little bit more important than gas prices. The actual genocide is being conducted in Palestine right now. Just
Yeah. I can answer that. Yeah. At the end of the day, because I know how the internet is, man, and I'm still gonna speak it. I always anticipate pushback, but listen, Palestine has their own government, has their own military. This is why you do everything that you can as a country to prevent a war happening. If you get into that position, then I hope you have what it takes to fight against that opposition. Do I feel bad? I mean, listen, I don't know those people. Do I feel bad? Yeah, sure. But am I more sad about what's relevant to me? Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I'm talking about we here at the Empowerment Network, we're transporting kids to Black tutors, to Black educators, to the Black movers and shakers of Omaha. That's relevant to me. I'm not in Palestine, and I hope that Palestine's government. It's under Hamas. I hope it does everything that it can, right? Israel is still fighting Hamas. So that means that they have enough. Hamas is giving them enough of a fight because they're still fighting. Usually when
Israel is not fighting Hamas. They're fighting the Palestinian people. The problem is that they consider every Palestinian to be a member of Hamas.
Sure. Okay. Black Steel, focus. I'm answering your question, man.
I'm focused, man. I just don't like your answers.
I get it, man. It's not an answer that you want to hear, but I don't live in Palestine, man. I don't.
But you live in America, though, so you understand how the imperial boomerang works, right? The violence that is used overseas always comes back to America.
But Black Steel, both of them are our enemies.
The Palestinians are not my enemies. I'm sorry you feel that way.
Speak for yourself.
I
But
am.
they had no listen. They have no
Someone
problem
don't know
with the
history.
wait. The Palestinians have no problem with the invasion of South Sudan. When
I
South
didn't.
Sudan
What?
was when South Sudan was getting separated, there wasn't one peak from Palestinians
Yeah, because
about
they
the
were under a
Arabs.
genocide. Yeah, they can't really talk because they're getting
Let me
murdered.
just talk.
Jesus
Let me
Christ.
talk. It happens in 2015, but the war went on for almost 30 years. So where was Palestinian what you'd call compassion towards the black people of South Sudan back in the day when their Arab compatriot was murdering South Sudanese in those days
The
until
Palestinian people
the
have
country
always been
separate
supportive
hold
of
on
African
until
groups.
the country separated and Palestinians had nothing to say. So those people are enemies. We just tricked.
Nah, no,
W-
and you're
We
creating a
are
straw man
tricked.
argument. You're creating you're creating a straw man argument because first of all, the Palestinians have always been supportive of African people's struggle. Number one,
That's a lie.
so that's no, it's not, and I think you should read a little bit more before you start calling people liars, because you don't know what you're talking about. But the Palestinians have always been supportive of African people's struggle. Number one, number two, Palestinian people have been under direct assault since what 1948. So where have they had the time to send this army and support? Again, they
Okay,
always
I'll tell you this. Since you spoke about history, I'm sure you never heard of East African slavery, where and I'm sure you never heard of the Ottomans, and I'm sure you don't know that the Palestinians are an invader group who occupied Palestine because of the Ottoman invasion, and I'm sure you don't understand that the North Africa is part of the Ottoman invasion, including the Palestinians. So what I'm trying to say to you is throughout the years, and there's sections there were some black people in Palestine, which is called Habib, which means slavery. So what I'm trying to say to you is they have no compassion on the black people being slaughtered in goddamn North Africa, which is empty of void of black people now. But
That's not
the
true either.
process of South Sudan is what you call it, documented facts about things that went on during the 1980s and 1990s where you heard nothing. Well, I don't care if their voice was small, but still you don't hear no peak from the Palestinians. So leave that alone. They are enemies, and the Gulf
No,
states
I
are
don't want, and they're not
enemies.
enemies because just because you're not aware of something doesn't mean it didn't happen. And again, to my
So
point, the
Egyptians
Palestinian people,
are Egyptians enemy or foe?
Egyptian. So okay, so are you talking about a black Egyptian or
Yes,
just?
are they enemies or foe? That's my question.
I mean, I can't. I would say I don't know that. As a case by case basis.
And that's hypocrisy.
Now, how is that
You have to
hypocrisy?
make you
There
have to
are
make up
African
your
people.
hold on.
There are black
What I'm
people in
trying to
Egypt.
say,
Are there
what I'm
not
trying
black
to
people
say
in
in
Egypt?
this what I'm trying to say, boss,
Is
in
every
this
Egyptian
critical
Arab?
time.
He's talking
Wait,
about
what I'm trying to say,
The Arabs of Egypt,
No,
the
he
he
didn't
ones
say
that
that.
call
knows
He
because
themselves
said you keep
Egyptians.
putting words in
he
his mouth.
he
He asked
knows
me was
he knows
Egyptians
black
enemies.
steel. Black steel. Come on. Let's
No,
be. You
let's be
are
real. Let's
actually.
be real.
You
If
say
you
you're
want,
actually. Hold on. Come
yeah,
on, man. Let me say
go ahead.
something to you, man. Come on, man. You're actually a teacher, so you need to be neutral. You feel me? But when it comes to our people and blackness, there's no neutrality. If you want to be on the Arab side, which is the Arabs of Egypt, that's fine. But you cannot be on the Arab side and be on the black side. And it goes for all Africans and all black people because there's no war, there's no winning for us if we don't know who our enemy is. And if we go ahead, just like the Democrat Party is enchanting black women and destroying our character as black people, it's the same thing. We have to decide who who is enemy,
whether the snake or the whether the one with the who gonna hug us with the knife in the back, or Donald Trump, them there's party who will shoot us in the head face to face. You feel me? Or the Muslim who will cut our throat in the sand. You have to decide what side you want. And me, I'm totally on black side. Don't care. To me, all of North Africa is enemies. I ain't talking about the black ones. You feel me? All of North Africa is enemies. All of the Gulf states are enemies, and they put hands on us. Now, when it comes to Iran, they also enemies, but they are kind of distant and they reduce certain things. So I prefer the other ones to get destroyed, including Palestinians. Feel me? So stop playing like you think
I'm
you
not
think
playing.
you can
See, so here's the thing.
destroy you're destroying our image.
I'm on the side of the people who are being genocided, and we're just gonna have to agree
But
to disagree. We're
by
just
who?
gonna have to agree to
Hold
disagree on
on.
this. We're never gonna see.
Who is doing it?
Hold on. We're never gonna see eye to eye on this, brother. We're never gonna see eye to eye on this. So we're just gonna agree to disagree, and we can move on. Because you're not gonna convince me. I'm not gonna convince you. Okay. So it is what it is.
All right, man. Good
Oh,
conversation.
I'm sorry to agitate.
Hey, Black,
Sorry,
somebody
boss.
else took our argument, man. That was
I'm
supposed
sorry
to be
to
me and you.
agitate you.
I'm sorry, Bakari. I feel like I'm cheating on you.
Good conversation tonight. I'm not complaining one bit about the convo. Just tighten up on certain things, but real good conversation. Before you guys leave, if you don't mind, give me a shout outs for this week. Anything positive you saw in the black world or in your black life that occurred during the week. Let's start with Black Steel.
Shout out to the young brother who got accepted to the National Honor Society in my class. I'm very proud of him. I don't want to say his name, but he asked me to write a letter of recommendation, which I was proud to do. So shout out to him for his hard work.
That's lovely. Great. Good stuff to hear. Icon, what would you like to shout out this week?
Well, Nigeria said they're gonna stop slow down imports of oil, so they're gonna use their refinery to distribute oil within the country. That's a win for black people. You feel me? I hardly have hope for Nigeria, but that's some hope. You feel me? That's my shout out.
Appreciate that. I can fire. Jacadero, what would you like to shout out this week?
Black Steel won't like this. Here we go. The bullshit. Let's go. I'm ready for it.
But big shout out to Iran. I'm serious, and I mean this with every bone in my body. I want you to hear this, Black Steel, and I want you to hear this close. Aside from South Africa, it's usually the African world, the black world, that tucks their tail in when it's the big bad wolf of Israel. The United States, yeah, they might, show their teeth, growl, bark. But when Israel is mentioned, African and Caribbean countries do everything but stand up. They tuck their tail. Okay? Oh, we're with each other, okay? Then Black Steel. We are supposed to be better than the Arabs. Our ancestors, both in the Mali Empire, the Congo Kingdoms, Zulu, which didn't really interact with the Arabs, but then the Kemites, right? The ancient Egyptians, the ancient Cushites, the ancient South Sudanese, right? We're supposed to be better than them because our pharaohs told them a long time ago, hey, we'll kick your ass. There's a story. I'm gonna try to do this as quick as I can, 15 seconds. But there's a story of an Assyrian approaching Cushite soldiers and saying, "Hey, I wanna battle. I wanna fight one of you." And then one of the Cushite soldiers says, "Okay, if you can lift up this bow, because we are the men of Taseti, and we are the land of bows and arrows. If you can lift up this bow with my bow and arrow, I'll consider fighting you. And he didn't lift it. And he struggled lifting it, and then they laughed. And then just 100 years later, the Assyrians took over Egypt. So, but again, we are better than them. I'm with you on there. We're better than them. But in modern day Africa, we took our tails. Aside from South Africa, who took Israel to the ICC on crimes of genocide against Palestine, right? Iran has said, hey, check this out. You gonna kill our spiritual leader, the Ayatollah? Bet. We gonna take care of your guys' prime minister, the longest serving prime minister that Israel has ever had. Woo! That's how
have they confirmed he's dead?
No, that's my shout out.
Have they confirmed he's dead though, for real?
No, Black Seal, this is my shout out.
Okay, because I was about to put some meat on the grill. Hold on. I got a brisket in there. I've been waiting to use for a while. Slow up now.
That's how you stand on business. That's how you stand on business. That's how you stand on business. That's how we are supposed to be better than the Arabs. But the Arab world is standing on business. They're saying, hey, check this out, Israel. He ain't about to do that. He ain't about to kill her. He ain't about to kill our spiritual leader. Let them kill a voodoo leader. Let them kill a Yoruba leader. Let them kill a Dinka leader. Let them kill a Lua leader. Black Steel, bro, it's going to be just whispers. It's going to be just whispers. We might have Dr. Umar giving a speech at a school that still has yet to be built. We might have Tariq Nasheed talking about, hey, these tethers, they talk a lot of this in the United States, but in their own countries, their spiritual leaders are killed and they don't do anything. You know what I'm saying? Do you see where I'm going with this? But Iran is saying, hey, check this out. Cool, you gonna kill one of ours? Bet. Okay, cool. We're going to take your brother, and then we're going to take you. Again, it's not confirmed that Netanyahu has disappeared from this earth, but Iran gets my shout out. And then second shout out, of course, I represent the Empowerment Network here out of Omaha, Nebraska. Woo! The strongest and the largest Black empowerment organization. We teach not to apply for jobs. Create your own job. And then we work with you. We are collaborative for economic development. And our sister cities are Tulsa, Oklahoma, Houston, Texas, Kansas City, Missouri, Lansing, Michigan, Memphis, Tennessee, and everything outside and in between. Go ahead. And if you're watching on YouTube, that's www.empoweromaha.com, the official website of the strongest Black empowerment network here in the Midwest.
I feel like Jacadero should end that with oh yeah, like Randy Savage used to.
That's an brother. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Jack. Trigger Happy in the chat said that he thinks they legalized cannabis in Ghana, which is pretty cool. That's a shout out. Black Seal puts up the link to the Guardian article about the long history of Black solidarity with Palestinians. So you could click that in the chat and you should be able to check out that article. Who did I not get to yet? Sister Alma, what would you like to shout out this week?
Sorry. I like to give a shout out to all the Black people who are, oh boy, who are not fooled by other people. I'll just leave it at that. And shout out to the Black people who are working in the same ideology and likeness and mindset. And when I say the Black people who are not being fooled, I'm talking about I'm not talking about the Black people who are confused. Okay, when you're confused by the enemy, not talking about you. I'm talking about the people in this world who intentionally do things and say things that sound good to us, but are not really good for us. And I just want to say shout out to all the Black people who are not fooled by that and are focusing on what we need to focus on in the ideology that we share together. That's the only thing that we need to be focused on right now. Thank you.
Good stuff, Sister Cheryl. Brother Bakari, what would you like to shout out this week?
I would like to shout out the great Netanyahu and the great state of Israel for putting in work. Shout out to black women that make more money than the black men.
Okay, you can't control. Okay. You trolling, man. You're trolling us.
Yes, I am. I am trolling. Now, man, I want to shout out the panel. Shout out to Koku for hosting another great live show. Shout out to everybody on the panel. The Sister Cheryl. I don't think hadn't been on the panel at the same time in a minute. So I'm gonna give a shout out to you. It was good to see you, even though you had the audacity to disagree with me, and I don't understand that, but it's okay. I'll let you ride with it this time. That's what it is. Oh yeah, man. You know what? I want to shout out Molly for what they're doing with their gold mining, and their gold deposits, and how they're using that to build up their country and their communities around the mine, how they're distributing that money. And Koku, I'm gonna send you that article too. How the communities around those mines is getting they're making sure each community get a minimum of $33 million to start building up the community. So I want to shout out all the black who putting in work and who trying to do something. And on that note, peace and love.
Appreciate that, Brother Bakari. By the way, shout out to Brother Bakari too for reminding me in particular, but reminding us in general that we got to start to congregate. And so, I had put up on the Discord a couple weeks ago, what regions are you in within the U.S.? Buenos is in the Caribbean, but what regions within the U.S. are you? We need to really organize meetups and talk strategies a little bit more. I know we tend to be like a media voice. We tend to be on these YouTube streets talking the talk that we talk, but we should organize in what we're talking about more too, I think we should be a little bit more united in what messages we try to put out. I think it'll be a good idea for us to meet up as the weather is getting better across the country and stuff like that. So let's keep that in mind. Let's talk about that some more over the coming weeks.
If sorry to interrupt you, Koku. Buana, if the draft comes, can I send my son to the Bahamas over there with you, buddy?
Yeah, you can come up if we want to. I mean, you got to tell him that this in South Florida now. He ain't gonna have a pop, or he can have access to pop. We have Popeyes here. Okay. He'll be all right. He'll be all right.
Yes, sir. Well, I don't sound like you're eating crab and dough or something right now.
No, I eat peanuts. Okay. Let me say my last shout out, Koku. So,
yeah,
let me say, if what Jacadero says is true, shout out to the death of Netanyahu. I'm happy. If I'm gonna research that right after the chat, and I hope that Jacadero ain't just talking off of some palm wine he drinking, because he sounds like they legalized cocaine, crack in Omaha, Nebraska. And shout out to the goofballs in the Caribbean who send all those Cuban doctors back to Cuba after a 50-year relationship where the Cuban doctors was helping and assisting the people in those Caribbean countries. They know who they are. And it's probably going to be shortly this goofball Bahamian leadership is going to send the Cuban doctors back to from the Bahamas to Cuba. I hope, since Marco Rubio convinced y'all to send the Cuban doctors back to Cuba, I hope what he replaces it with is adequate enough, understanding the illnesses and sicknesses and overcrowding system of our medical healthcare systems. Since he convinced y'all to do that, I hope what he sent y'all is adequate enough to take care of the needs and cares and concerns of sickly Caribbean people, since y'all feel like it was justified to send all those Cuban Caribbean doctors back to Cuba. So shout out to those Caribbean goofballs who permitted that to happen. I'll end it there, Koku.
Juan, I want to talk. I wish we could have more time to talk about that, because Italy didn't send their Cuban doctors back, but all of a sudden the Caribbean countries did. I think we got to talk about that next week. That's crazy.
Yeah, Remind me about it. Remind me about it, Black Steel. I'll reference it. Okay, remind me about it.
I think I got everyone for the shout outs, right? I think I got everyone. Man, thanks to all of you who on the panel tonight. I gave my shout out, which is let's link up. Let's start working towards actually coming together and having discussions in person and talk about the things that we shouldn't be talking about on open air of YouTube. We'll be back next week. I think I'm going to get Jacadero to host next week, so look forward to that. We'll be back next week, same time, same place. I'll see y'all then. In the meantime, y'all be good. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter Medicine.